You fall into yourself. I was breaking the walls, I never heard the alarm. Now I'm rising to fall behind. I've been holding on to your arms. Been fooling myself. You were moving on to find another way home. It's all in my heart if you want it. I don't deserve it. I just wanna know. It's all in my heart if you want it. I don't deserve it. I just wanna know if we can go back. If we can go back. If we can go back. I just wanna know if we can go back. If we can go back. If we can go back. I just wanna know. It was unbearable. You were carried along. The bonds came into flames. We were crumbling, going over the edge with the weight of regret. Now I'm rising to fall behind. I've been holding on to your arms, and I can watch it burn, but I just gotta know if there is something left. It's all in my heart if you want it. I don't deserve it. I just wanna know. It's all in my heart if you want it. I don't deserve it. I just wanna know if we can go back. If we can go back. If we can go back. I just wanna know if we can go back. If we can go back. If we can go back. I just wanna know. Said it once, it's all that I wanted. Is it gone?
All right, good evening, everybody, for round 3 of the live stream tonight for the Pirates of the Geek Vortex. With me, Ollamh the Captain, and the rest of the crew. Let's get them on. All right, looks like Sin is already in the chat here. I'm not sure who else is going to be here, actually, because from the sounds of it, yeah, from the sounds of it, Caden's been dealing with a rough, just kind of a day-draining day. Rasklin, I know, was at work and stuff like that. Are you actually there, Sin? I'm not entirely sure if Sin is actually there or not. Okay, so Sin's in the YouTube chat right now. I actually have the Pirates voice chat up also, so you're still at you're still up pretty high as far as that goes. Not muted or anything. That's strange. Okay, looks like Sin's trying to reconnect. There we go.
How about now?
Yeah, there you are. All right, so now we've got
That's
Sin.
weird.
We've got Gamers Grotto. Yeah, really weird.
Yeah, because I've been sitting in chat waiting for everybody to show up for probably half an hour now.
That's just because you don't have anything better to do.
Well, I do have something better to do. I could start drinking, but I'm not doing that on the internet again.
Oh, come on. All right, so I've got the live stream chat, text chat up for Discord. I've got YouTube chat. So yeah, so far right now we have myself, Sim, and Gamers Grotto. And for anybody who is just now catching up or hasn't heard the explanation before, this is my third live stream of the day because I wasn't able to do live streams Wednesday and Thursday. The internet was just not working well. Things just kind of started going downhill early Wednesday morning, because that was when my phone decided it was not going to charge. The charging port in the phone actually broke.
Did you ever figure out why your internet was all wonky that day? Or those 2 days, I should say?
All they said was that there was some issue with their updates, with their upgrades and stuff like that was going wonky and bad and stuff like that. I think I've noticed that most of the time when we get like really heavy rains and stuff like that, the internet tends to be a little difficult. And we had a lot of snow, and the snow's starting to melt, so the ground is really, really wet. And I think all of their cables are underground, so if over time the insulation starts cracking because of exposure to the elements and stuff like that, and any insulation that's cracked is going to start causing problems once you get moisture in there.
Makes sense, yeah.
So yeah, the funny thing is, like, my work internet's been shit today too. It was actually kind of crappy yesterday also. So yeah, all day today when I was at work for a little while, I was at work.
Yeah,
everything was boggy and slow and just garbage.
Yeah, wonder if there's something just going on, if it's just the wet, like I said, just everything's finally getting to the point where the weather's starting to affect it, or what's going on. And hello, Dana Leone, I think it is. I think it's Dana. I'm never sure how to pronounce names and stuff like that. It's always... But yeah, finally got so I got the replacement circuit board for my phone this morning, replaced it, everything's working fine, so.
Groovy.
It's weird, because it's like, I know for a fact if I had sent it back to like Motorola, they would have charged me $50 to $100 just to fix it. And it's like, it's a $10 part and 5 minutes worth of work. And it's really, really simple to fix, too.
Yeah, oftentimes I find it's a lot easier to just fix things yourself, because oftentimes you're saving a lot of money.
Yeah. And a lot of the companies say, well, we could fix it, or we could give you a credit, for a new phone, a new device. And it's like, but this one still works just fine. It's just this one small part that's broken. Why replace the entire thing? It's like, but that's kind of, again, going back to a conversation I've had several times. It's like, that is kind of our culture here in the United States in particular, is just, if it's not working right, just replace it. Don't fix it.
It's all planned obsolescence, excuse me.
Yeah. Oh, like I mean, when I had to replace a water heater or a furnace recently, yeah, I mean, we had them come in and take a look at it, and they're like, holy crap, this thing is 30, 40 years old. How is it still, it's like, how is it still going after so long? It's like, because back in the 80s, And early 90s, we made things to last, not so that we'd have to replace them every so often.
So here's something funny. When you just said 30, 40 years ago, I was like, and then you said 80s or 90s. My mind 30, 40 years ago is the 50s. That's just what my brain automatically thinks, the 50s. Like, no, not anymore.
No. Yeah, we are 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
You can vividly remember things that were 30 or 40 years ago, which is scary.
Yes, I agree.
So, all right, yeah. The game plan for tonight is just general discussions, or you guys asking me things. Since I got to pick on you guys individually, I'm letting you gang up on me as far as questions.
Is nobody gonna talk?
Well, so-
right?
As soon as you said that,
I
we're
give
all
that.
silent.
I give that go ahead, and everyone's like, nope, nope.
Well, what I was going to say is I was going to ask gamers if they want to go first, or did they want me to go first, and that way we could just alternate.
I don't really know what to ask Ollamh, so you go right ahead.
Okay. So my question is, why are the holes in cats' furs always placed in the right places for their eyes?
Really?
Yep.
Well, that has to do with that basically it has to do with their skin. Much like our faces and our bodies grow hair in specific areas to keep us safe and keep us try and help keep us warm. Same thing with cats. Their eyelids actually have shorter fur. And of course, there's no fur in their eyes whatsoever. And cats do groom themselves.
You weren't supposed to answer that seriously. I was just asking you a stupid question because the question was funny.
See, that's the thing. I can BS my way out of a lot of silly questions like that.
I got a question for this is actually for both of you. What games are you looking forward to either this year or in the new year?
So 2022 or 2023? Ooh.
Yeah, either or. Yeah.
I would say for myself, I'm looking forward to a couple different games. There's apparently going to be a sequel to Bugsnax, which I am looking forward to. Bugsnax was a really, really fun game.
No idea what the hell that is. I've never heard of it.
It's a game on next gen consoles, and I think it's also on PC. I've been thinking about purchasing it. Is it any good?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
That was I think that was actually one of the first live streams that I did when I started really doing live streams again, and really going into it and stuff.
Nice.
I played several episodes of that.
Nice. I myself am looking forward to the Knights of the Old Republic remake. I'm hoping it's going to be good.
Yeah, that sounds good. That has potential.
Yeah, and the upcoming Spider-Man too, because Insomniac Games, I find really is doing a great job with that franchise. Because there's been so many Spider-Man games that have been terrible. I remember Spider-Man 2 on the PS2. There was a mission where you had to help a kid. Save a kid's balloon, and I'm thinking certainly there's more important things for Spider-Man to be doing in the city than chasing a kid's balloon across the city.
Right? Yeah, it's like
It's a PR mission, though. That's what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, it was a side mission. I know. It was just it was still
No,
really stupid.
what I meant is it's a
Public
PR mission.
relations. Yeah.
Exactly, because everybody thinks Spider-Man's a creep. If you stop and if you stop and actually read the comics, yeah, everyone thinks Spider-Man's a creep, except for the people that actually know him.
Yeah, that's true. Well, within reason. Like I know that. Okay, so the difference between the Insomniac games and the original Spider-Man games is, yeah, it was like that in the original games, where kind of everybody, all of the citizens, they hated him and stuff like that. But in the new game, it's way different. Like you can interact with everybody on the streets. You can go up and high five them and things like that. And there's the odd people who are against Spider-Man for sure, like J. Jonah Jameson and random people on the street. But for the most part, everybody on the street kind of just like, they acknowledge that at this point in his life, because in the Spider-Man Insomniac game, I think Peter Parker's in his 30s, so he's already well established as a superhero and as Spider-Man. Because they didn't want to retell the whole story of how he became Spider-Man again, because they're like, everybody knows it. Why would we rehash it? Like, it's just pointless.
And that's actually an interesting point, because that's one of the things that I'm really hopeful for with the Marvel movies, and they're going forward with the Fantastic Four. It's like, just do what you did with Spider-Man.
We don't
Tom
need
Holland
another origin movie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just skip the origin and just they're already established superheroes.
Yeah, and that's what I liked about Insomniac Spider-Man. And I also liked that fact that Peter Parker and Miles Morales are in the same universe. So, like in the second game, the Miles Morales game, you play as Miles Morales as Spider-Man, but you're swinging alongside Peter Parker's Spider-Man, who's an NPC. So, like, you guys are kind of fighting together and stuff like that. So it's kind of like two Spider-Men in the same universe protecting New York City, which I thought was pretty cool.
I don't think they're going to go anywhere near that type of thing for as far as Marvel, mostly because I don't think you would see in the movies, I don't think you would see Sony releasing Miles Morales Spider-Man as well. Now that they've established, hey, there is a multiverse, there are multiple versions of Spider-Man, you can have Miles Morales in our own self-contained movies apart from the MCU. And if Marvel wants to pay us a shit ton of money, we'll go ahead and let them bring him in for Secret Invasion or, whatever really big team up type of thing that they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like, and Marvel signed off on all the stuff, obviously, for the game, the Insomniac game, and we're kind of really, really interested in what Insomniac went with, the fact that they changed everything around. Like, I mean, Peter, we all know him as, working at the Daily Bugle, but in Insomniac's game, he never did. He worked for Doc Ock in a science lab.
Yeah.
And he also worked at a homeless shelter with his Aunt May.
Yeah, that's one of those things where it depends on where you pick up in his life, because it wasn't like the Daily Bugle wasn't his only ever career. So it's one of those things where it's like he probably did start out, same as he always does, working at the Bugle, but when the game picks up with the character, he's moved on, he's graduated, he's graduated college, he's gotten his degrees and stuff like that. He's established as a scientist, and he's not having to schlub along.
Exactly. Now, but the interesting thing is that Mary Jane Watson is a reporter for the Daily Bugle in the game. So it's kind of it's kind of changed roles in a sense. But no, it's really good. I do recommend, if you guys have a PlayStation console, to give it a try at some point if you want. But it is definitely one of my favorite superhero games.
You see, that's the thing for me. Mostly for me, it's PC games, mostly because I
And
don't
that's fine.
have several $100s to spend on this console, that console.
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
for this game or that game. It's like that's just
Yeah, no, I get that for sure.
so. Sin, so hang on, Sin. Any games that you're looking forward to?
In all honesty, no. I mean, I'm looking forward to upgrading my PC so I can play some of the games that have already come out that my PC is just not sufficient enough to run, like Cyberpunk.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, that's a beast on PC, man. Oh my god, I heard that game's crazy on PC.
I'm a huge fan of CD Projekt Red because of The Witcher 2 and 3. More 3 than 2.
Yeah, for sure. No, I you know what? I 100% agree with you. Witcher 3 was, words cannot describe how good that game is. Like it's amazing. I wasn't impressed with Cyberpunk 2077, at least on consoles. They really buggered that up, and it was really bad. I mean, on consoles, like, you can't. If you're driving around on in the city, your car will occasionally just fall through the map. It's just really bad.
They had
playable.
that same problem on the PC. I think the biggest problem with the console versions is it's more difficult to update the console versions than it is the PC.
No, that's true. It totally is.
So if you have a major bug that's in both, but the coding is completely different, it's easier to find it on the PC and patch it on the PC and just say, "Hey, here's the patch." Versus, you have to, with Nintendo or Sony or whoever, it's like, okay, so we have this patch to this, but we have to go through a third party to make sure that it's okay to upload onto their system, and you've got so many more hoops to jump through.
Yeah, no, it's very true.
That makes what Olam's
Go
talking
ahead.
about right there. That makes me think of exactly with like Fallout 4 modding. Now, if Bethesda were to release another Fallout game, I'd be all for that. And I'm not talking about a 76. I have no desire to play that.
No.
I have a friend now that plays it still, and I give him crap about it because it's garbage. Now, I'll watch people play it. Like, there's a couple of YouTubers I watch play it, but that's just because it's the YouTubers themselves is why I'm watching, not because of the game that they're playing.
Yeah.
Has it not been fixed since all the glitches and everything? I thought that it was fixed. I don't play the new Fallouts. I prefer the originals. The new ones, to me, I just can't get into them. But I did hear that Fallout 76 was fixed. It's not the glitch fest it originally was, which is why people.
Nothing's gonna be that much of a glitch fest and still be around after so much time. But
That's
it's one of
true.
those things where it's like fixed and a proper game. Or that's a big difference, because I mean, one of the things that they had when they originally launched it was there are no NPCs. There are no human NPCs. There's enemies to shoot, there's raiders to shoot and stuff like that. But if you try and if you're looking for interactions with somebody who's going to give you a mission, it's a recording or it's a note or something like that. There weren't, for the longest time, there weren't actually people.
That sounds terrible. That doesn't sound like Fallout.
I think the premise of that was supposed to be that it was, as far as timeline-wise, it was like very, very quickly, very shortly after the bombs fell. So the population had not been able to build back up like it is for, New Vegas or 4 or any of the others. I think that was their premise in regards to why they did it the way they did it.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, if I remember right, it was because Vault 76 was supposed to be one of the first ones open, Yeah, it was 25 years after the nuclear war.
I'll be honest. The Fallout, the new Fallout franchise, just every time I try to get into it, the setting and everything just depresses me to no end, and that's why I can't really get into it. I don't know. There's something about it that just.
I guess that's actually kind of a testament to the games, really.
Yeah,
it's
no,
supposed to be. I mean, you know, with the originals, you had the top-down view. You had, you know, it was sparse, it was dirty, it was stuff like that. But you didn't really. It wasn't a world that encompassed you. It was a world you were looking down on. So it's kind of like it's not going to affect you that way. But if you see just, you know, nothing but dry, cracked dirt stretching on as far as you can see, and cliffs and stuff like that, it's like that's a whole different story, especially with the way they've always done the sky, because the sky just looks overcast and dreary and just it looks depressing, as it should after a nuclear war.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's just I guess what the problem is that I grew up with Myst and Riven and everything like that, and all those games really had vibrant colors, and you know, and to go from that into the new Fallouts, it just I guess it just
where it's just it's kind of shades of green, shades of brown, shades of I don't even know what I don't even remember what shade the Fallout 4 was particularly, but
So, Gamer, let me ask you a question just real quick. How old are you exactly?
40 actually.
Okay. So, like, I think part of the reason why, like, New Vegas and to some extent 3 and 4 appeal to me is when I grew up, we had Escape from New York. We had the Mad Max movies and such.
Yeah, no, and I get that. Like, I grew up with the Mad Max movies as well and everything. No, I get it. Have you played the Mad Max game, actually?
I have not, no.
Oh, it's actually really good.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. It's like amazingly faithful.
It's kind of weird. I will say that it's kind of weird because it kind of reminds me. It really reminds me of the Lord of the Rings, the Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, yeah.
Games.
Yeah.
And
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's just really, it's like, okay, you go here, you free you have certain missions and certain characters that you're supposed to go and deal with in order to progress, and it's like, this feels really familiar.
Yeah. Well, a lot of games kind of do that nowadays, though. I was reading an article actually today, funnily enough, about Shadows of Mordor and the sequel, and a lot of games kind of took from that. So those two games were highly successful. Less so the second. I think the first one was more successful, but a lot of game companies took from that, and more so the Assassin's Creed games, kind of just borrowed all of the elements from Shadows of Mordor.
Especially the idea of the strongholds.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing that Shadow of Mordor really presented to everybody was, there's this whole big thing of, hey, you have all these strongholds that you have to do, and each one has a captain, and if the captain or somebody gets to this part, they can bring in reinforcements, and it's like, yeah, this is totally stolen from Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah. But a lot of games have been stealing from Shadows of Mordor. It's kind of interesting. Now there is an upcoming Golem game. Now that's interesting too. There's announcements all over on PlayStation Store. I'm assuming because a lot of these are coming out for PS5, so I'm assuming that they're going to have PC releases as well, because the PS5 is basically a computer at this point. It's no longer really a console; it's a high-end PC in a box.
Well, it's
But,
a high-end piece. It's a high-end gaming PC. I mean,
Yes,
let's.
I mean it's not like yours. It's not a powerhouse, but I mean,
Well, no, that's one of those things that a friend of mine back at the last, I think it was the last Xbox, they're like, oh, it's practically a PC. You might as well get an Xbox. Why spend money on a computer? I'm like, because I can edit videos, photos, and do 3D rendering on a computer. I can't do that on an Xbox.
Yes, it's very true. It's the thing. It's a high-end gaming PC. Yes, it's not a high-end PC because you can't. I mean, they don't even have a browser on it anymore, which is really annoying to me. It's like apparently on the PS4 the browsers were barely used, so they never bothered to put it on the PS5. I'm like,
I mean, kind of see that.
Yeah. But so going back to what I was saying, there is a Gollum Lord of the Rings game coming out where you are actually playing as Gollum, and throughout the entire game. And graphically, it looks amazing. It looks almost photorealistic. And I don't know what it's going to be like though, but it definitely, from the screenshots I've seen, I feel a lot of Shadows of Mordor. From what I'm seeing in the screenshots.
Okay, I knew I had heard about Daedalic Entertainment before.
Daedalic Entertainment, yes. So they, I actually just live streamed one of their games recently. They did The Pillars of the Earth, which is based on the books by Tom Patchett, I believe his name is.
See, I know them mostly for their Deponia game.
Yes, the Deponia games. Yep. And then I believe Stu did a cover of a Daedalic Entertainment game. It was what was it? It was Alcatraz. It was called Alcatraz.
See, I was all set up to just really like them until I saw the fact that they were one of the people behind Crazy Machines 3. Oh.
What's Crazy? I've never heard of that.
Okay, so Crazy Machines was kind of a spiritual successor to the Incredible Machines and Incredible Machines contraptions from the Sierra days.
Yes.
The Rube Goldberg things.
Yeah.
Well, Crazy Machines 1 and 2 were really solid games. Really, really kind of, they were really...
Oh, I played them. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Crazy Machines 3 is barely a game. It is basically, here's all the things that you need and just the things that you need, and you have to set them up just right.
Oh.
You don't really get to explore around. There's not a whole lot of puzzles that come with the game. They rely on their creation kit for other people to provide the puzzles for you to solve. And it's like, that's lazy. That is lazy work.
Yeah. Do you remember, by any chance, Sid and Al's Incredible Tune Machine, which was also made by Sierra and set in the in the same universe as the Crazy Machines and all that kind of stuff?
I do not remember that.
Yeah. So basically, what it was is you had to build like these gadgets as you either picked as the cat or the mouse, and you had to. If you were the cat, you had to build gadgets to capture the mouse, or if you were the mouse, you had to build gadgets to kill the cat.
Okay, it's kind of like the old Spy versus Spy game.
Yeah, or like like a Tom and Jerry cartoon essentially. But yeah, pretty much. And
the Spy versus Spy game basically had you in this big map. You had to go from room to room, and you could set up traps and stuff like that.
Now, which Spy versus Spy game are you talking about, though? Are you talking about the classic, or are you talking about the more modern-ish one that came out in the mid 2000s?
Oh no, this would be the classic one.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah, back in 1984, I think it was.
Okay. So then
I know that there was one for the NES. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be the NES one. Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's the. I'm not sure if that was the. No, that was actually before the NES. That was 1984. That was Commodore 64, Atari 8-bit. Yeah, this was. I'm not sure that one came out on the. That was on the Nintendo, and that was just on the NES, the Game Boy. I don't think that one was ever released for the Super NES.
Oh, I wasn't talking about
we were
Super NES.
I was
talking about the
about
regular one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were talking about the regular NES. Yeah, I do have that the Spy versus Spy game on my NES, my NES Mini. The mini consoles that Nintendo came out with, the mini Super Nintendo.
Hey,
Nintendo.
we want to cash in on everybody's nostalgia.
Yeah. So I ended up getting those because one of my friends worked at EB Games, which is basically the Canadian GameStop. And so I got deals on both of those, so I ended up getting them. And then I ended up finding out that you can those systems were so easy to just hack into and replace the 30 games with as many games as you wanted to. So that's what I did. I replaced the 30 games on the NES Mini with 760, I believe. So now when I turn that thing on, I have access to multiple NES games.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things where they wanted as they wanted to leave the option open to add more games because they wanted to sell you packs of games.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's what I ended up doing. And so I know I have the Spy versus Spy one on there. I have a whole bunch of stupid games on there though, like Bible Challenge and stuff like that, like games I would never play. I just kind of loaded it all up with all NES games, regardless of whether they were good or bad.
Might as well. I mean, if you've got the space and it can only play certain games, yeah, just chuck them all.
Well, no, that's the thing. All it is, Olaf, is it's not even a console. All it is it's a portable hard drive.
Yeah,
case of.
I guarantee you they have. I guarantee. I bet you anything they have. A certain programming that it's like, yeah, there are some games. It depends on the game format.
I don't think so. Only because I've read people that people have like actually put PC games on their NESs.
Now here's the question though: is that just they just copied them over, or did they have to port them out in a specific file format?
Oh, I think you have to put them in a specific file format.
Yeah. So you are altering the game to get a PC game onto the NES Mini. You have to alter the PC game. It's not just hey, welcome anything and everything. It's no. They do have it restricted down a small ways.
Yeah. But it's not very complicated to get past.
Well, no, because they didn't care they didn't keep up with saying, okay, well, we're gonna we're going to generate our own format and we're gonna bring old stuff in. So
what I did find funny is that Nintendo is known for breaking down on pirating and all that kind of stuff. They're really against ROMs and everything like that. And so you would think they would have like locked out that system a bit better than they did, because like when I got into the system and everything, there was a README file on the hard drive that said something like oh, we don't mind if you're gonna alter the system and add your own games, but just keep it clean. And I'm thinking to myself, what? That's the last thing I would expect Nintendo to say.
Yeah. That sounds very odd for Nintendo. It's like, yeah,
Right?
that's
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But they're pretty good systems. I mean, like systems, quote systems. They're not really systems. They're just hard drives, but gussied up hard drives.
they're hard drives. They're hard drives with a little bit extra. I mean, like I said, if it was just a hard drive, you could slap, you could either take PC games or Mac games and just shove them on there and go to town. But you can't.
That's
so
true.
it is a system. It is a system with specific checks and a style to it where, like I said, whether you have to convert it to a ROM or whatever in order to bring it over.
Yeah. It is very nostalgic though. Like, I mean, because you get the classic controllers with it. So the classic NES controllers or the Super NES controllers. And it definitely is a lot. It's a lot better to play like that than just as a standard ROM on a PC where you're using just a keyboard and mouse or whatever. So it's great to be able to use those classic controllers that you kind of grew up with, even though they're kind of rebuilt, right? Because they're now being plugged into it by USB, so they're not identical to the original.
See, that's the thing that just blows that out of the water, though. It's like if the controller connects via USB, why not just? You don't need all of that stuff. It's like if you can get a controller, an NES style controller that plugs in USB. I don't see why you can't still play the ROMs for free on your PC just using that controller.
Yeah, no, I agree. You should be able to as well. I think for me it was more so just the nostalgic element of just, even because I've never really had an NES as a kid. My parents were very strict on game. I'll be honest with you, and they were not for them. They were the kind of parents that, get out of the house. So my dad kind of supported gaming, and I think he kind of got me into it, but my mom was totally against it. And it took her a while to get used to the fact that, oh, you know what, games are actually pretty amazing. And it was by COVID, when COVID first started, that she started to get into video games, and she realized, you know what, this is better than just sitting at home reading a book. I'm actually interacting. I'm actually, you know what I mean? So she really got involved in it, especially VR. I introduced her to VR, and she really got into that. And,
I bet.
Oh yeah, like it's great to just be able to escape lockdown. Anyways, I'm talking too much. Sin, what do you have to say? Are you still here?
Yeah, I'm still here. No, I was just listening to you.
I don't want to hog the entire conversation here.
No, you're fine. So, like, I don't have the nostalgia for the Nintendo that you have.
That's
because
fine.
because I had an Atari 2600.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Remember, I'm ancient.
Ancient.
I had a 2600.
Yeah, no, I had friends who had the Atari 2600.
Actually,
See, again,
give me just a moment. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna go check on something real quick.
Sure. For me, like I said, because my parents were against gaming, I could have had the Atari 2600 and all that as a kid, but my parents were against all that kind of stuff. So I didn't get my first console until I was about 13 years of age. And it was mainly because I had saved up for it. I had a job by then, and I had saved up for it.
See, so like my folks, because again, the 2600, however long ago that came out, like my brother had one.
Yep.
My brother was older. He moved out of the house. He bought his own. So I'd go over
Yep.
to my brother's house to play with his.
Yep.
When like my folks decided to go to the bar, and my brother would babysit me every once in a while.
Mhm.
So I'd sit and I'd play Defender on that, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's what I had.
Mhm.
And it took forever for my parents to agree to buy me one, because they were always worried it was going to ruin the TV.
Oh God, yeah. Okay,
Because
yeah.
and this is the thing is, like, yeah, I had a TV in my room when I was a kid, and most that sounds like weird to people now. Not that it was a big deal that I had a TV in my room.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, even when I was a kid, it was rare for kids to have TVs in their rooms. Yeah, no, I understand completely where you're coming from. And my parents were the same way as yours. My parents, when I finally got my N64, which was my first console, or at least one of them anyway, they said the same thing. Unplug that from our TV. It's going to damage our TV. I'm just like, oh no, it's not.
Well, what my parents were worried about is, how with the old CRTs,
Yes.
you get ghosting. When it would show the same pattern over and over and over, you'd get the ghosting that would imprint on basically on the tubes.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So that's why they didn't want me to have one, because they didn't want,
Yeah,
whatever
they didn't want
ghosting
screen burning and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, I get that. But that would only occur if you had the game on for like a ridiculous amount of time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like we're talking like keeping it on for like a week straight without turning it off and having a static image on the screen.
Now, see, this is the first gaming console I had, was the Atari 5200.
Now,
Okay.
my best friend had one of those.
Yeah.
And it was only it was twice as good as the 2600, but it's still terrible.
Terrible in what sense, though? Because it's like terrible compared to, NES that came out? Yeah, sure.
Yes.
But
No,
the
it
thing
was,
is,
like I said, it was great compared to the 2600, but it still wasn't.
See, I never really grew up with any of the Ataris. I did play them at friends' places. But I mainly had like I said, my first console was the N64, and that was mainly because I had to buy it myself. But I remember my dad introduced, because we had a Tandy 1000, and my dad introduced me to like one of my first video games, and it was literally Leisure Suit Larry, and I was like 6 years old.
Well,
Which is
yeah, but the thing with that is you didn't understand what was going on. It was just, funny characters, and it was something to keep you entertained or occupied.
I'd be
Okay.
terrified if I knew what was going on. I'd be traumatized.
That's what I thought. Okay, so the comparison between the Atari and the NES is actually very, very unfair. Because the Nintendo 5200 only ran for a couple of years, starting in 1982.
Yeah.
The NES didn't come out in North America until 1985.
Okay.
Oh.
And the Atari 5200 had already been discontinued at that point.
And then they had the Lynx, and then I think they had the Jaguar.
Yeah. Yeah, because the Atari 5200 was actually at an 84.
Do you guys remember the 3DO?
Yeah.
That thing didn't last very long.
No, it really didn't. Of course, Atari has nobody to blame for the death of their console and gaming as a console gaming as a whole until the NES came out, other than like Activision. It was literally the fucking ET game was the one that just fucking killed it for a long time.
No,
Yes.
I got a question for you guys, actually. Did you guys hear, and I found out about this because Tommy Tallarico, who is a former host of the Electric Playground TV series and the creator of the Video Games Live concert that tours all over the world and plays video game music. So he got a job with Colecovision, and they're bringing out a brand new Colecovision console next year to compete with next-gen consoles. Have you guys heard about that?
I have not, no.
Yeah.
I had a few ColecoVision games like Donkey Kong and stuff. Now it was the Atari 2600 version, but yeah.
Yeah, so they're bringing out a new ColecoVision console, which will play classic ColecoVision games as well as modern games. So it's going to be interesting, to say the least. It's going to be reasonably priced, they say. So they're trying to compete with the next-gen consoles.
I'll believe it when I see it, mostly because the fact that how are they going... I'm not, unless they're going just straight, like straight PC setup and stuff like that, I don't see that happening. I don't see them getting the license to be able to read and process either PlayStation or Xbox games.
Oh no! They wouldn't be touching PlayStation.
So now they have to have
Their own
the
titles?
they have to have they have to have the game creators make a whole version just for their console. I don't see them being able to pull this off.
I don't know. I mean, you can look up stuff about it on Google. I read a whole bunch of articles about it not that long ago, but
That's what
it has been a thing that's
what they're saying. That's what they're saying they're going to do. I'm every game developer, every game company says they're going to do all these wonderful, amazing things, and the truth of the matter is, it's like, it's going to cost you a shit ton of money.
But you don't need to remind me of that. I remember Peter Molyneux and his promises back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. He was the guy who created Black and White was one of his games, and he also did I think they're called the Legend games.
Okay, so Dana says, tell Gamers Grotto that he made a new friend on the PS5 named Joker Laugh 30.
That's her. I don't know why she's saying that. That's her account on PS5. Yeah. Anyway, so
but yeah, I mean that's the thing that you have to remember as far as getting into the console game. There's a reason there's two big players and really not much else.
Yeah,
because you have to make it worth the while for a game company to make a version for your console.
Yeah.
And if if your console is unheard of, you have the benefit of nostalgia as far as the ColecoVision, but that's only going to get you so far before it's like, no, why are we making a Coleco version of this game? We're going to sell millions of copies through the PS5, the Xbox, and the PC. How much are we gonna spend making a version for the ColecoVision?
I totally get it, and I'm so that's why I'm beginning to wonder if maybe they're just gonna have their own games then. Yeah, I don't really know. Like they aren't really releasing too much information. They just say that it's coming out next year. They don't really give too many details.
Yeah, that's not surprising. That's not terribly surprising, but it's like, yeah, I mean, there's anytime somebody says, "Oh, we're going to be competing with the big boys right out of the gate," it's like, really? Really? Do you know how much money they are spending to have people make games for their console.
Oh yeah, no, it's.
You know how many children Bill Gates eats every day?
No, I agree. Like, I know that Sony. Well, I mean, we saw the recent thing with Microsoft acquiring the rights to Activision and all of Activision's games and everything.
Yeah.
But then now there's new information that just came out. I think it was 2 days ago, that said that they're still going to be making cross-platform. Activision said no. It's not like it's going to be exclusive to Microsoft now. They're not doing that. It's just that Microsoft owns them, but they are still releasing on multiple consoles. Now,
if they have to.
Yeah. Well, they'd lose so much business if not.
Oh no. Microsoft would be so hard with an antitrust lawsuit, it would make their heads spin, and they don't need to go through all that yet again. They've done it enough times.
It's true.
Because if you say, "Hey, we're taking these games and we're making them, we're buying this game company. All of their games are now just going to be just for us, not for you." It's like these are supposed to be two separate companies, but one is supplying the other directly, and it's like that is so far against the laws.
Yeah. Now, Sin, when we last talked last stream, I had said that KOTOR is going to be on the new KOTOR. Knights of the Old Republic is going to be on PC after a year. I'm just going to correct that now. So it's going to be on PS5 and PC at launch, and then on Xbox it'll be a year later. So it seems like Sony is wanting to cooperate with PC gamers right now, and that's why they've been shoving a lot of their exclusives onto PC lately, onto Steam and everything. They're trying to build up a PC audience. And so KOTOR will be on PC at launch.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, if they didn't do that, they would have buried themselves.
Yeah.
They would have buried themselves because everybody that played the original Knights of the Old Republic, there wasn't. I don't think it was released on anything but PC. So it's like these are the people you are trying to attract. These are the people you are making this for.
It was on the Xbox. The original Knights of the Old Republic was an Xbox game, and that's why not a lot of people played it. The majority of the playthroughs played it on PC.
They played it PC.
Oh, I know.
So if you get rid of the PC, you're getting rid. If you don't do a PC release of a traditionally PC game, you're snubbing your entire audience.
Oh yeah, totally. Sony, as of I think it was about a year ago now, or something like that, they've really been cooperating with PC gamers, and in the last year they've released their exclusive PlayStation games to PC. Like, we're talking God of War, Uncharted, things like that. They've kind of been shoving them out on PC for PC gamers. Well,
I think there's a reason for that. And that is
smart for one.
Well, it's smart for one, yeah, but it's also the game producers, the game makers are realizing that they don't have to sign an exclusive deal. They can do an exclusive 1-year deal. So it's exclusive to PlayStation for the first year, and then they can release it to everybody else. They still get money from Sony for having that exclusive 1-year deal. Then they get sales to everybody after that year. And that's the way everybody's been going.
I agree, but I also think it's on Sony's end that they're allowing this to happen, and I think the reason for it is they're trying to compete with Microsoft at the end of the day. They're trying to one up.
But they're not. But they're not one-upping Microsoft if they're saying, "Hey, go play our exclusive game on a Microsoft platform." You're not one-upping them by saying, hey,
That's
you know
true.
what, we're go ahead and play our game on your platform. It's kind of the opposite.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. I at the end of the day, what I would like to see, and I know it'll probably take many years for this to happen, is I would like to see all of the game companies kind of work together. I'm sick of the feuds between Nintendo and Microsoft and Sony and always trying to one up each other.
Okay, so you're
it's
talking.
less.
You're
It's
talking.
less so. It's less so now, but it's still out there.
You're talking about the platform manufacturers, because the game companies.
Yes, no.
I mean,
no,
the game
platform
companies are more the
manufacturers.
game producers, not the console producers.
So I mean, like, what I mean is like, it would be nice to have, and I know that somebody brought this up in the past. I think it was on PC Gamer magazine or something like that. But they had said, you know, it would be nice in the future to have just one console that played Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft games, all of them
You'll
all
never
together.
get that. Never get that.
No, I don't think so either. But that would be nice.
It's not a question of think so or not. There'd be no competition. There would be absolutely no competition. Nobody would
Yeah.
buy a Nintendo platform if they can buy one and play Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft. Why would you buy why would you buy a PlayStation and an Xbox if you can get one device, one console that plays both?
Yeah, that's true.
It's a no-brainer. Yeah, that would be the birth of a mega corporation that would dominate and rule over console gaming with an iron fist, probably.
That's true. Yeah. Now,
I mean,
off top. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of the people that write those articles, they're like, they're living in a fantasy world where everybody's gonna get along. You know, you're still gonna have the Xbox, you're still gonna have the PlayStation, but you also have this golden console that plays everything. And it's like, nobody would buy anything but that one console. It's like, and you would have one company that just dominates the console gaming industry, and Nintendo would be gone. Sony's PlayStation branch would be gone. It's like,
Yeah.
nope, you know, Xbox would be gone. Everything would be, it'd be like, nope, that's it. We're done. We're done.
That's true. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree 100%. Now, kind of off topic here. Have you guys heard about Futurama now being re-released? They're bringing back new seasons. They're bringing out new seasons of Futurama. Everyone's all excited about this. But the downside is, yes, they are bringing back the whole cast, but John DiMaggio, who played Bender, has said that he won't be a part of it. So
No,
now
he
a lot
has
of
not said that he won't be a part of it. He has not said that. No.
okay.
This is a case of what they tried to do is they tried to negotiate with the top three, the top three voice actors, and they tried to give them all the exact same deal.
Okay.
Well, DiMaggio is very heavy in the voice acting world. He is a
Oh, I know.
huge voice actor. He
Yes,
knows.
he does a lot of video games.
But the thing is he knows when somebody's trying to screw him over. Unlike the other two, I don't know if the other two have really kept up. I don't know if they've really kept up with doing voice work or not. But it's like
Billy West does, because Billy West, he does a lot of stuff for like Looney Tunes and stuff like that, and Disney, and
okay,
yeah,
He kind of took over from Mel Brooks.
yes, he did, yeah.
okay. But my point is DiMaggio is like looked at what they're paying him, what they were offered him, and it's like, no, this is stupid. This is far below what you should be paying us. And given that it's Hulu doing this and not like Fox, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, yeah, because they don't really have that much of a budget as Fox, I don't think. Do you think that they'll negotiate with him and bring him back on?
I think
or-
they will. I think they will have to negotiate with him and bring him back.
Yeah.
If they don't, if they recast Bender,
Nobody's gonna watch
yeah,
it.
nobody's the diehard nostalgia fans that you have are just going to be like, fuck this, we're done.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. Go ahead.
I like Futurama, but I don't care. I mean, if they bring it back, whatever. I honestly, I didn't know it was gone.
Oh,
I don't
It's
watch
been gone.
TV though. I don't watch
Okay.
TV. Period. Everything I watch, any media I consume, is on my computer. So
yeah,
I
that's
have
that's
to look up to see. Oh, is this show even still on?
Yeah.
yeah. I'm the same way. I don't have cable or anything like that. I just use my internet. I go on YouTube or whatever,
Yeah. I mean,
so I
yeah,
can
would-
understand it.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I appreciate the fact that a lot of these companies that that fully outright own the rights to a show are saying, hey, you know what, we want to bring it back.
Yeah,
I think there needs to be a balance, though, because way too many of them are like, oh, hey, we're going to bring it back, and we're going to do everything we can to push that nostalgia and get those nostalgia views. The problem with nostalgia is if, you know, there's only so many jokes you can rehash before they're like, yep, okay, that was the show. Oh, you're gonna try something new? No, we came here for the same old feelings, the same old beats that we're used to.
yeah, it's true.
So, like, that's one of the things I kind of don't like, is that they're, the shows, instead of coming up with a new show, and this actually started probably like early 90s with stuff like when they started making movies of old TV shows like McHale's Navy, stuff like that. I hate that stuff because there's no point. I mean, you're not, you might be introducing it to a new audience, but they're not getting what it was, because things socially are so vastly different then than they are now. You're getting this kind of crappy, sanitized, woke bullshit version of whatever it was.
I don't think we're nearly as sanitized, especially even in the early 90s, that the movies had to be so much more sanitized than the old TV shows, like
Okay.
McHale's Navy and Maverick and stuff like that. Those were things that you could do so much more even in the 80s in movies than you could do on TV shows when those shows were out.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from. But you see the point. I maybe gave a bad example in regards to how I was trying to describe it or explain it. But instead of coming out with new product, new shows, new ideas, they're just rehashing the same shit over and over and over and over.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly there, because that's one of those things that it's like, they are really, I mean, they to a certain extent, at least when they did it back then, it was, I mean, they were trying to keep the same general feel of it. So like McHale's Navy wasn't suddenly this, this spy drama that, that was keep you on the edge of your seat bullshit. That's what they would do if they tried to remake McHale's Navy now. It would be a serious spy drama that was like, oh, nail biter and stuff like that. It's like, that's not what it was. It was supposed to be a comedy. It was supposed to have the jokes. It was supposed to be kind of funny.
Silly.
Yeah, and it's like, but at least when they were doing it in the early and mid 90s, they were keeping the same feel and keeping the same, hey, it's supposed to be funny, it's supposed to be silly, it's not supposed to be this dangerous drama type thing. These days, everything has to be super scary and serious, and everything has to be very dramatic and very, very, very serious and scary.
I do agree with you, but at the same time, there are certain shows that were redone that were just terrible, like the new Knight Rider series that came out was absolutely horrendous. It was just an advertisement for Ford.
Well, I mean, that's one of those things where they took the general idea, but again, they separated it from what the original was, and just kind of like, okay, we're gonna go off on our own way. We're gonna do our own thing. We're gonna make it, grittier, more real, more. Again, it's the whole, we're gonna whatever we get our hands on, we're gonna make it gritty and real.
I just can't get past that they replaced William Daniels with Val Kilmer as Kit. I was
know,
just like,
right?
Wait, what? Fucking Val Kilmer?
Isn't William Daniels dead now, though?
No, he's absolutely not dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's.
No. He's still around.
It's Mr. Feeney.
Yep.
Yes, he was Mr. Feeney on Boy Meets World. Yeah, he
So here's something that's silly that I'm going to bitch about just for a moment.
Sure.
So the new Buzz Lightyear movie, as much as I like Chris Evans, why in the hell is it not Tim Allen doing the voice? Tim Allen should be doing the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
Hold on.
As a real person.
Okay, here's.
Whoa! This is a live action movie? I never heard of this.
No. This is a Pixar movie, but it's different. It is drastically different from Toy Story. Toy Story, Tim Allen is the recorded voice for the toy. This is not the toy. This is the movie. This is the story that the toy is based on.
Yes.
Okay.
So that is why you have that difference, because guess what? Very rarely will you actually have the actual voice actor recording lines specifically for a toy.
That's true.
You're going to get a sound-alike. You're going to get somebody who
I would
sounds
like it better.
Like it.
I would like it better if it was Tim Allen.
You would, yes, because you're very stuck in this is the person who plays this role. You always have been.
Well, I like Chris Evans, but
Chris Evans wasn't the person who played Buzz Lightyear. The person who played Buzz Lightyear should play Buzz Lightyear.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's not the same Buzz Lightyear. It is a completely different thing.
Just like nobody should be the voice of Darth Vader other than James Earl Jones.
But somebody else was the voice of Darth Vader before James Earl Jones, though. You have to remember the radio drama, which came out back in the
radio drama isn't canon. That's not canon.
And the radio drama.
No, the radio drama was canon though, because it was literally the original movies. It was the original 3 movies, A New Hope, and all that kind of stuff.
After the theater, actual movie.
Did it?
Radio
okay.
drama. Yes, it did.
But I'm trying to think who played Vader in that. I think it was like I keep thinking Scott Lawrence, but no, it wasn't Scott Lawrence, because Scott Lawrence was a voice actor for the Star Wars games. I can't remember his name. He was in Star Trek. He was in the Star Trek movies alongside Shatner. A black actor. I can't remember his name, but anyway,
Brock
he was
Peters.
the voice of Darth.
Brock.
What?
Brock.
Thank
Peters.
you. Yes, Brock Peters. Yes, that's who it was. And I thought he did a pretty good job. He played Darth Vader as more menacing than what James Earl Jones did. He was more cold and calculating.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Darth Vader. Here's the problem that you have with Darth Vader. Okay, especially with anything that came out after Empire Strikes Back.
Mm-hmm.
George Lucas didn't have it all fucking planned out. No matter what anybody says, he didn't. So many people are like, no, George Lucas had it all planned out from episode 1 to episode 9. He just started with episode 4. It's like, no, he didn't. He had no fucking clue what he was doing.
He didn't. It was so funny. I remember reading Mark Hamill was saying at like conventions and stuff like that he would get the script for the Star Wars movies, the originals that he was in, and he'd be like, George, what is this crap? It's like the script was so stupid. Half of the script, like 6 pages, went into describing the walls of the Death Star. And Mark Hamill's like, can we rewrite this? This is nonsense. Like, there was so much.
Everybody's like, oh, Darth Vader was always supposed to be Luke's father. It's like, no, he wasn't. That was added because George Lucas actually talked to somebody to help co-write Empire Strikes Back, and they're like, look, we want to create, and he's like, look, I want to create something for Darth Vader. I don't want him to just be this big menacing thing. It's like, originally Darth Vader was at the beck and call of the Grand Moffs. Tarkin was the one holding Vader's leash. Literally, because he told Vader to release somebody, and Vader did. He's like, fine, whatever. It's like, dude's not the second most powerful person in the Galactic Empire in the original Star Wars. He just wasn't.
Yeah.
And it blows people's mind when they're like, oh no, Darth Vader was always this big badass. It's like, no, he wasn't. He was kind of... Yeah.
He was always a badass, but he wasn't always second in command.
He was kind of a badass, but he was controlled by a lot of people. Anybody who basically replaced the Senate, the Grand Moffs replaced the Senate. So anybody who controls a sector of the Galactic Empire and is a Grand Moff was over Vader. They could order Vader around. They could order Vader to go and capture this person. To, no, you release that person. No, you go and do this. You go and do that.
Oh, that's kind of along the same lines of the Mandalorians. There were no Mandalorians originally. The Mandalorian, Boba Fett's armor was a super commando, a stormtrooper. It was originally designed to be all white and black, just like the stormtroopers. They were the Imperial super commandos.
Not surprising. Not really surprising, because, I mean...
Also, originally, stormtroopers carried lightsabers.
That sounds terrible. They can barely fire their blasters. God, can you imagine with stormtroopers with lightsabers?
But see, gamers, the thing is, you're applying what you saw in the movies to,
No, I'm just joking around.
But when the story was originally written, so essentially, because he borrowed from like Seven Samurai and the Kurosawa stuff, he wanted more sword fighting, so it made more sense. So Han was originally an amalgam of a couple different characters. So originally Han was Starkiller, and Leia, I can't remember, but Leia was blonde. So and Chewbacca looked entirely different. I have the figure set based on the original Ralph McQuarrie paintings that were done directly based on George Lucas's description.
I was gonna say George Lucas's original description of Han Solo was insectoid. He was supposed to be an insect. He was supposed to be an alien.
I'm sure Harrison Ford would have loved that.
Yeah, he was.
I could just picture.
It's one of those things where it's like that's how out there George Lucas was.
Oh, and yeah, he was crazy.
So one of the other funny things about Han Solo is, so Harrison Ford was one of the set carpenters. He wasn't an actor originally. He was a set carpenter, helping them build some of the sets for. Well, he was
he was an actor. Okay. He was an actor. He was. He was.
I was gonna say he acted in quite a bit before Star Wars.
He had already acted for George Lucas.
In what?
What was it?
American Graffiti?
Yes.
Oh.
That was for somebody else. I didn't think that was for George Lucas. I thought that was for like Spielberg. But when he was there though, he wasn't there to audition for Han Solo. He was there as a set carpenter.
No, yep. American Graffiti was it was directed and written by George Lucas. That was one of the last I think that was the last thing that George Lucas directed before A New Hope, and then A New Hope was the last thing he directed until The Phantom Menace. He didn't direct a lot of he did not direct a lot of stuff.
I remember going to see The Phantom Menace in theaters and being utterly disappointed.
I wasn't. I loved it.
Oh, okay.
I still like it simply because I took it. Oops, I took it for what it was. It's Star Wars. It wasn't The New Hope. It wasn't Empire Strikes Back. It wasn't Return of the Jedi. It was Star Wars. So many people like hate the character of Jar Jar Binks. Sure, I'm not thrilled with the character. I think the character is an idiot. It wasn't written for my generation.
No.
He put the silly, goofy character in there because he was trying to attract a new generation of Star Wars fans, little kids and shit like that. So when we were kids, we got 3PO and R2-D2 as kind of the comic relief, or more 3PO as comic relief. But that's what we got. Jar Jar Binks was the 3PO for the first movies. He was just this silly character that,
This brings up an interesting point. You said that C-3PO and R2-D2 were the characters for our generation, and that Jar Jar Binks was the characters for the new generation. Do you find that with newer movies or maybe remakes and stuff like that, where they bring out new characters, do you find that the new characters are kind of stupid compared to, like, it almost feels like the Hollywood directors and stuff are like, well, we need to add stupid characters because today's kids are stupid or less intelligent. I don't
think I know I get what you're going for, but I think you're forgetting something. Each of these was, like Sin said, it was made for that generation.
Yeah.
So in the 90s, you had bright colored sets, bright colored movies that weren't overly serious. They had this. They took things very lightly. Nothing could be super serious or anything like that. Now with the trilogy after the original, look at that one and how everything's gritty. Everything's much more dramatic and stuff like that. Everything's a lot more emotional. That played to the crowd for when it came out.
Yeah.
Because we wanted all these fantastical stories, but people wanted them grounded more in reality. The exact opposite was happening in the 90s with the prequels, where everybody wanted these grand sci-fi stories, but they wanted them lighter. They wanted them grand scope, but not too serious.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I will be right back.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
well, I was just kind of more reiterating on what I was talking about. So yeah, I mean, like I said, Jar Jar Binks and such wasn't for, just like that's why you have a child, child Anakin in there, because again, it was for a different generation. Lucas was looking for, in the original Star Wars, at least my belief is that he was looking for the teen and the young adult audience. That's why it's a little bit more swashbuckly and stuff like that, as opposed to, what Phantom Menace was. And
yeah,
I can kind of get why people didn't like, Phantom Menace, but it had so much stuff in it that was just cool, at least in my opinion, because as far as, so you got to meet Qui-Gon. So you got to meet the guy who made Obi-Wan kind of the way he was. And you got to see a side of Obi-Wan that you didn't get to see, because you got to see young, impetuous, smart-ass, kind of willful Obi-Wan.
Yes,
So
I know. I understand. The problem for me was when I went and saw it in the theater. I hadn't seen it. I haven't seen it since. I need to rewatch it. I think to probably have more appreciation for it, because when I went and saw it in the theater initially, I was one of those people who went in expecting it to be like the original movies. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And
you
so
were expecting Star Wars again, and it same
Yeah.
universe, but different setups and everything like that. Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, exactly. And so for me, it was very disappointing. And it didn't live up to my expectations, at least back then.
I mean, there were things about it that I didn't like. So, like, we'll just compare tech-wise, okay, as an example. Something super simple. TIE fighters and X-Wings. I thought, I liked those ships from Star Wars. Didn't care for the Naboo fighters. I thought they were stupid because they're yellow and it looks more like it's a hot rod car, and it's just. And then you have the Vulture drones that the Trade Federation is using, and so those were kind of neat, but they didn't look that great. They were kind of dumb also because it wasn't. I liked the fact that the TIE fighters were piloted by real people. I liked the fact that when you blew up a TIE fighter, you were killing somebody.
Yeah.
See, you were actually, so it was the cost and the risks of it were more instead of, oh, I blew up a drone. I think that, so you blew up a robot. Oh, they can make 10 more.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that goes back to what Ollamh was saying, where like the original movies were more dark and gritty in that sense, and the new movies are less so. They're more safe.
Yeah, and see, that's not. I don't.
Well,
I don't like
that's
that.
actually backwards. That's actually backwards.
Yeah, I know.
Well, no, I mean the newer ones were trying to be gritty and based in reality. Okay, here's how I see them. The original were very classical stories told in a new medium and in a new setting. I mean, let's face it. The first one was the old Arthurian legend. It was the hero to defeat evil finds this magic sword and starts on and casts off his humble beginnings and seeks adventure.
I never even thought of that. That's true. That's exactly it. Because with the lightsaber, the sword, I didn't even think about that.
But yeah, that's kind of what it was. Now, by the time the prequels came around, we weren't wanting those classical stories. We were wanting new stories. We were wanting, we were wanting something familiar, but we wanted it lighter, funner, brighter colors and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you look at the original, there wasn't a whole lot of color. Everything was a solid color. Like Cloud City was blue skies when you're approaching, but then it was mostly reds and then shifts to whites. Everything had this very had a certain color palette to it. But then you go to the Phantom Menace and you go to, the main cities on Naboo where you have all these bright colors and stuff like that. Everything just seems a bit lighter. It was more political. It was more of a thinking one, but it was a little bit safer because, you had Jar Jar Binks. You had the goofy you had the butt of every joke. I mean, to the point where they had him step in shit.
Yeah.
This was George Lucas's grand idea for comedy was, we'll make the character step in shit.
Yeah.
That kind of tells you exactly where cinema was at the time. That was comedy gold. You had to have toilet humor in your movie. You had to. Whether it's somebody farting or stepping in crap or getting pissed on, whatever, you had to have that in the 90s. You could not get away from it.
And there was fart humor in it also, because one of the Opies, which is one of the Gungan creatures, or I can't remember if they were when they were on Tatooine for just a little bit, something farts, and because you see Jar Jar waves his hand in front of his face. But talking about the color palettes, so you look at the stuff in Star Wars, look at the ships. All the ships are dirty, grungy, they look lived in, they look used. When you look at like for example, the Naboo fighters, they're pristine chrome and yellow. So again, like they have the hot rod thing going on. But none of them are dirty. They're not asteroid pitted. There's not like little leaks where some kind of fluid has run down part of the body because it's been used.
Yeah.
Everything's all clean and pristine, basically.
And then to take that further, you look at the trilogy after the last trilogy. Everything's broken. I mean, you see all the classic stuff. It's still dirty. Like the Millennium Falcon's still very dirty. Everything's still very dirty, but things are starting to get broken. So you have just a downed Star Destroyer that's being scavenged for scrap and for technology and stuff like that. And you have all of this stuff that's just, I mean, it really kind of feels like they're kind of cobbling things together using bits of older stuff. So it's almost kind of like, it almost kind of has kind of a post-apocalyptic feel to it, with how it's like I said, like with the you see a lot of, especially in the first one, where you see a lot of stuff that's just, it's not that pristine military grade, but it doesn't really look lived in either. It just kind of looks like it's been used and it's been discarded. Now they kind of fix that a little bit in the future, the future movies, where they have a lot more newer, a lot more new shiny stuff that looks old and lived in, but it's like, it's still just, like I said, it feels like it's more like getting by the skin of your teeth. So it's more, you have more of that grittiness and that gritty, dark type of feel and attitude towards it.
Well, and also, so just to like expand upon that even a little further. Okay, so even with the brand new series, The Mandalorian, so the Razor Crest, so it's an entirely new looking ship. In other words, it's not one we've ever seen, which makes sense because they were trying to make something, that stood out from the Millennium Falcon, from TIE fighters, from X-Wings. But if you pay attention to the dialogue, they're constantly talking about, well, nobody uses those anymore. That's an outdated, troop drop ship or gunship.
Yeah.
Nobody uses them anymore because it's so old.
Yeah. But it's one of those that makes sense for the purpose, because it's a troop it's a troop dropship, so it's able to hold multiple people. It's able to hold multiple bounties.
What did you guys have you guys seen footage of the Star Wars ride at Canada's what am I saying? At Disneyland?
No.
I think the tech behind that, it just blows me away. I know that from my understanding, it's a mixture of holograms and mirrors and animatronics that they're using to do that ride. And the ride I'm talking about is the one where you take off in a ship and you end up getting captured by the First Order. You end up on their ship and you end up going into a prison cell. And then I guess the rebels or someone ends up cutting you out of the prison cell, and you have to follow them. And
something you said
Kylo,
there. Something you said there as far as that gave me an idea for two more topics, just real quick. So, tech in movies or games that works good, that really improves, and then tech in games, in movies and games that just makes no goddamn sense.
That'll be fun.
Mostly because of the hologram comment. Because it's like, it always irritates me in like Star Wars and anything like that, where they have holograms, and it's like, there's nothing for the light to reflect off of. You have to have something for the light to reflect off of, or a hologram doesn't work. The light just keeps going. That's why modern day holograms, you have that plate of glass that's at a 45-degree angle, so you can't see it, but it basically works the same way as a teleprompter. It shines the light up there so that you see it, and you see everything behind it.
So you're talking about like R2-D2 when he projects the image of Leia and so on and so forth.
Yes, when that, or when they're talking over long distance communication, you have the holograms. If there's nothing there has to be dust or water or moisture or something there.
I never took those. I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I never took those actually to be holograms per se. I think that I always took it was something we kind of related to as a hologram, because we don't have any kind of tech, anything like that really, where it could project a 3D image basically from a disc. Because the communicators like Qui-Gon Jinn had could, and Obi-Wan had one too when he was talking to the clone troops, where it would project a 3D image. But I never took it as a hologram per se. Now, I might have called it a hologram because, again, I didn't know what else to call it.
Well, there is nothing else to call it. It is literally just light projected out that somehow is bouncing off of some sort of particle in the air. But the thing is they never address that. They never say, okay, well, you have to have this piece of glass, or you have to have a certain amount of, water moisture in the air or something. Think of like a laser pointer. You don't see the laser unless there's like if the moisture is really high, like up in the 80s.
Or smoke.
Yeah, or smoke or something like that. You'll see that light. But if you don't have any particles whatsoever for that light to interact with, you don't see it until it hits something. So it's like that's my big problem with all the technology of the holograms and stuff like that. It's like there is just no way to make a light appear 2-3 inches above from the projector without something for that light to bounce off of. That's just basic physics.
So going back to that ride though, like did you guys ever watch, like there's clips of like somebody recorded the full ride and recorded it on YouTube in full 4K, I believe it was, and you got to see the entire ride, from beginning to end, and some of the effects, they really blew me away, and I to this day I don't know how they did all of it. Like I said, I only know that it involves some holograms to some extent, and some animatronics, but they had like scenes where like so when you're escaping the First Order ship in space, you go past a docking ring and there's a giant AT-AT, I think it was an AT-AT or an AT-ST. I think it was an AT.
Did it have?
It was the dinosaur walker. It was the AT-AT, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Because the AT-ST was the chicken walkers.
Yep.
Yes.
So, but it was giant. It was made to scale, and I'm just like, okay, that's not mirrors. They built that to scale, and it just towers over you. It's got to be at least 20 feet tall, if not more. And then as you're leaving to go into a shuttle, these stormtroopers are just firing at you, and the lasers are like bouncing off the walls, sparks flying everywhere, and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, how much money did they spend on this ride? Fuck. I can just imagine the budget they had for that ride.
Yeah, but it's worth it. It's worth it because it's like that is one of the hot properties that they own, and It's kind of like them, them making the Adventures compound, or
in a sense, I'm glad that Disney kind of got their hands. There's two ways about like. So, like, I am kind of glad that Disney got their hands on Star Wars, and I'm not. I am, in the sense of the fact that they made all these cool rides at Disneyland and stuff like that. That if they didn't own the rights to it, we would never see rides like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars themed rides. We wouldn't. It would never happen.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like they're. I don't know. I'm not too thrilled with their with the way they're taking the movies.
So when Disney bought it and started so the first thing that turned me off with Disney in regards to their purchasing of it is when they said the EU is no more. Now they've recanted that. I understand. I know they've recanted that. Now it's Legends. But that's what made me say fuck the mouse originally. So that ride you're talking about, the Galactic Star Cruiser, as of August of last year, it cost almost $5,000
Jesus.
to ride it.
What, to ride it? What are you talking?
So the Galactic Star Cruiser, it's a 2-night Disney hotel experience.
Oh, jeez.
So this was as of August. I think I've seen recently it's now around 6.
Oh, good.
I'm a bit confused as to you're not talking about the same ride I'm talking about. I don't think. You're saying that the ride cost $5,000 to ride? What? No, am I?
Yes, it's not. It's not just a ride. It's not just a ride.
I think we're talking about two different things here. I'm talking.
Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser is a 2-night voyage through the Star Wars galaxy.
Oh no, that's not the same thing I'm talking about. Then no, that's not the same ride.
That's not a ride. That is a full on like that is a Disney experience. That's a Disney World experience at that point.
Right? Yeah.
That sounds fucking
not gonna lie, that sounds awesome. Now I kind of want to find footage of that.
So, yeah, but for that much money, there better be handies involved from Toilet Girls. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, because Disney's gonna allow that. Jesus.
Yeah, because they're looking at it. No, they're talking like you have rooms that are essentially Star Wars themed. You have a suite.
Yeah. See, okay, I know what you're talking about now. See, I heard that this was coming out. I didn't know it was out already.
Yeah.
I heard they were talking about making something like that. I didn't know if it was actually ever going to be done. But that's awesome.
Oh God! And Sin, it hasn't gone down. Starting from for 2 guests per cabin is $1,209 per guest per night. So it's $4,809 for the total voyage for. Oh wow!
So do you have to be a smuggler to get it?
Something. Jesus, yeah. It's like holy crap. But yeah, it's like, it's, I mean, even their cheapest one, I mean, yeah, that one, that's the basic. That is the lowest denominator. 3 guests per cabin, 2 adults, 1 child, $5,299, and then
Jesus Christ.
3 adults, 1 child is $5,999. Oh.
So you tour the galaxy and then you end up at a hotel. Now, here's the thing. When they say tour the galaxy, are you just on a spaceship and you just go by the stars, or are you going to land on planets? Like, what do they mean by that?
No
you know what
idea.
I mean? Yeah, exactly. Because if I'm paying that much money, I damn well want to land on planets. I don't want to just see a couple of stars whisk by my face and then end up at the hotel.
So yeah, it's a 2-night stay in a cabin or suite. Basically like a suite that's supposed to be on the Star Cruiser. That's the main point, is you're staying in a room that is modeled for the Star Cruiser.
Yeah.
Let's see. Ongoing immersion and interactive entertainment.
You have to pay extra for that.
No, this is what they're saying is included.
Oh, okay.
So food and beverages, excluding alcohol or specialty beverages.
Okay, no,
quick
so
service
you know
meal
what?
and
Now
docking bay 7 food and cargo. So it sounds like
Well,
they're
that-
kind of tying that into.
now that you're saying,
yeah.
now that you're saying all that, it makes sense why they're overcharging.
Yeah,
Because of all the extra, I thought it was just the hotel and that's it. I'm like, well, that's kind of ridiculous. But now that you're saying that it's like, the hotel plus the entertainment plus your food and drink, provided it's not alcohol.
You also get admission to Disney's Hollywood Studios, for your quote unquote planetary excursions to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. So this will get you into Galaxy's Edge as well. And this is their specialty hotel geared towards Star Wars.
Okay, so that makes sense now that I hear all that's included. That's actually pretty much worth it.
Yeah.
If you can afford it, that is. It's just all the rich people going.
I mean, with including access to Galaxy's Edge, that kind of softens the blow a little bit.
Yeah. I don't know. We need to get jobs working for Jabba the Hutt to be able to even afford it.
You couldn't do that because Jabba's dead.
Shh. I'll bring him back to life.
I think the Hutts would have a problem with that.
Yeah, just a bit.
Yeah. But no.
Go ahead.
A lot of people that I know were pissed off with Disney buying Star Wars at the time, because Disney was like, okay, so yeah, we're gonna make a new Star Wars movie. We're gonna make a new trilogy. But, and George Lucas tried to say, hey, here's the ideas and stuff that I have. They're like, no, that's okay, George. We bought it. You sold. You can rest now. Just relax. Enjoy the rest, enjoy your ranch and stuff like that. You don't need to worry about this anymore. We're going to do our own thing.
Were they treating him like he was mentally challenged? What's going on?
I think they were because he did. He approached the executive saying, hey, here's my ideas for the next 3 movies. And they're like,
no.
Just no, George, stop.
Yeah.
It's like you and I think that's why it kind of had to happen, really, because nobody by the time the Phantom Menace and stuff came out, nobody was going to tell George Lucas no.
They probably Disney, as soon as they got their hands on the franchise, they were probably thinking, yeah, if we let George Lucas deal with this again, it's probably going to end up like the Star Wars Christmas special.
See, that's unfair, because it's his sandbox, and I understand Disney bought it, but I'm just saying to compare New Hope, Empire Strikes Back,
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, and even for you, even if you're not a big fan of Phantom Menace, Attack the Clone, Revenge of the Sith, compare that to the holiday special. That's harsh.
Yeah.
He was kind of, I think for one, he was probably pushed into that part of it because he wanted to be something grander than what it was.
Yeah, but who's gonna give them that much money to do a Christmas special?
Oh, but if you stop and think about it, at the time when we were kids, when that originally played, Valden or Ollamh, everyone did. There were Christmas specials that were every year. You'd watch Rudolph. I realized that was all stop motion animation, all that kind of crap, but it was something that was played every year.
Yeah.
Something that our generation looks back, at least I do, still fondly.
I get what you mean. I know what you're saying, but here's the difference is, so the claymation stuff that we grew up with, even the Charlie Brown stuff,
Yeah.
that was drastically, that was such a, the original stuff that they were doing, the original Charlie Brown stuff before there was the Christmas special and stuff like that, they were already working on such a smaller budget. Now you're talking about the big movie, you're telling me that anybody is going to say, yes, here is the same budget, the same massive budget you would need to do a major motion picture for a TV, for a holiday special. For something that's only going to be relevant for maybe 1 or 2 months a year.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, you there's no way it would happen. But at the same time, I gotta say, 90% of the movie was just Wookiees grunting back and forth with each other with no subtitles whatsoever. And so we were expected to know what they were saying. I'm just like, what is going on here? What am I watching?
Yeah, I mean, it was something that they were. Yeah, I mean, you're right, Sin. Holiday specials were a big thing. I mean, everybody was doing it. Hell, in the 80s, like, you couldn't have a cartoon on TV if you didn't have, you couldn't have a cartoon if you didn't do a Christmas special.
Well, it's not just
and She-Ra did a Christmas special.
But it wasn't just cartoons though. I mean, like, going into the 90s too as well. The sitcoms, every sitcom had a Christmas special.
No, this is different though. This is different because it wasn't worked into the shows. This was something completely different,
okay. Yeah.
separate from the TV show. So it wasn't like,
I know what you're
the
saying.
Christmas episode. No, this was.
No, you're talking about like
special.
the Garfield Christmas special and stuff like that.
Yes.
I know. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, He-Man and She-Ra had a full special, completely separate from the cartoons. That was their Christmas special. And that was kind of what they were going for with George Lucas, but I think George Lucas probably wanted it grander, but nobody was going to ever pay for it. Nobody was ever.
It was just
say,
all
hey,
over the place. I remember they had on they had Han Solo on Conan O'Brien, and they were bringing up the Christmas special, and Han's just like, "Can we talk about anything else besides that fucking special?"
Oh hell, Harrison Ford probably was asking, can we talk about anything other than that fuking franchise?
He hates Star Wars. He hates Star Wars. Well, it's true.
It's one of those things where he's done so much, but everybody brings up Star Wars, and it's one of those things where it's like he has, before The Force Awakens, he hadn't played that role in how many decades? And he's been working pretty steadily through those decades, and it's like...
See, but he's the same way with Indiana Jones, too.
It's they bring up Indiana Jones and they bring up Star Wars. They never bring up Regarding Henry. They never bring up The Fugitive. They never bring up any of the stuff that he's done, any of the great work that he's done, except for those two franchises. That's all anybody ever wants to talk to him about. So yeah, he's going to get sick and tired of both of them. He's not going to want to talk about either of them.
So, I mean, as far as though that's a testament to how much people loved those things that he took part in. I understand. Yeah, he did The Fugitive. He did, Blade Runner, as an example, is something that's completely not Star Wars related that he did. But nobody asks him about that because, again, it's not as beloved property as Indiana Jones as Star Wars.
There's a difference between beloved and obsessing. When that is all somebody wants to talk to you about is one of two things, that's not beloved, that's obsession. That is rabid fandom that they don't want to talk about anything other than what they want to talk about. They want to talk about these two things. We don't care. We don't care if you're sick and tired of talking about it. We want you to talk about
you just brought up a great point. So going back to what I was saying about Conan, so there was an episode where they had on Harrison Ford, and he's like, okay, can we talk, questions from the audience? And then Harrison Ford goes, you got to watch this video. It's hilarious. Harrison Ford goes, as long as it's not pertaining to Star Wars. And so Conan's picking people from the audience, and they stand up and they're dressed as Star Wars characters, and they're like, and he's like, okay, go ahead, as long as it's not a Star Wars related question. And so this guy's dressed up like Chewbacca, and he's like, what did you have to eat today? It's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. It's like, you can't escape something that you haven't done for decades, and it's like, look, it may be beloved to you, and you may never have talked to the man about this topic, but he has talked to hundreds of thousands of people about that topic, just like you. There's a drastic difference there.
It's true, but it's interesting because it seems to only be him, because when you think about it, Mark Hamill lives and breathes this, and he loves his fans, and he lives and breathes Star Wars, and he's even now on his Twitter, he's constantly for it, and he goes to all the conventions, and he loves just sitting down and chatting with everybody about Star Wars. So it's really the actor more than anything.
I think it's about how people approach you. I mean, did Mark Hamill ever say, "Hey, can you guys? I don't want to answer any questions about Star Wars. I am promoting this, not talking about Star Wars." So, like when Mark Hamill if Mark Hamill was promoting the Arkham games and going around and talking with people once it was found out that he was going to be playing the Joker.
Yeah.
How many people are like, "So you're in this new Batman game? What was it like to work with George Lucas?"
So there is a difference between Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford. So aside from his voice work that Mark Hamill has done, he's really got nothing other than Star Wars.
Yeah, he's got a few things.
Not compared to like Harrison Ford. So Harrison Ford has had a very rich career.
Yeah, Harrison Ford is a lot more movies and stuff under his belt than Mark Hamill, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But Mark Hamill has done stupid stuff like that, where like he's been at a convention and they're talking about the Batman Arkham games, and then he starts taking quotes from Star Wars as Luke Skywalker and saying them as the Joker. So I don't know. To be honest, I just think he's kind of all over the place and willing to accept anything.
But see, that's the thing. He's bridging the two. Because he's a voice actor. He's not he's not saying, "Hey, look, this is something that I am starring in." It would be drastically different if he was starring in a movie trying to promote that movie, and they just keep going back to Star Wars. It's like, I can't do my job here. I can't promote my new movie because you won't let me talk about the new movie.
It's true.
It's kind of that absurdity, and like I said, I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, it is kind of the fans who, that's all they know. Look at Tom Wilson. He worked in a lot of movies. He actually worked in a few movies with Mark Hamill. People only ever, the only thing they want to hear about is Back to the Future. That is it. He hasn't done that for most of his life. Most of his life has been post Back to the Future. I think
for me, what I remember,
that's all they think about. That's all they want to know about.
It's true. And for me, when I think Tom Wilson, I don't even think Back to the Future. And even though I know he's Biff, I always think either Wing Commander or I think of the Freaks and Geeks TV show. because he played the teacher, the gym teacher in that show, and he was hilarious in it. He was like a womanizer, and he was just Tom Wilson as a gym teacher. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
So
See, like for me, I played the Wing Commander games. I don't remember him in them, but that.
God, are you kidding me? He was like the second main.
But you have to take into account when I played it is when the games actually like originally came out. And so that was like my sophomore year in high school.
Yeah. Here's the big question: did you get? Did you play all 4 or 5? Actually, I think there were 5. Did you play all 5 Wing Commanders, or did you?
I think I just played like 2.
Okay, so you probably played the first 2 when they were still cartoon before they went to full motion
live
videos.
action.
Yeah,
they
changed it to full motion videos at 3, and that's when Christopher Blair was played by Mark Hamill, and Maniac was played by Tom Wilson. Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I'm not. So the only thing I know Tom Wilson from is Back to the Future.
Yeah, you know what's interesting is when Telltale made the Back to the Future game initially, so they did 2 releases of that game. They did the original release, which had like everybody in the game except Tom Wilson, and they had a sound-alike, but you could tell that it wasn't Tom Wilson. Like it didn't sound like him.
See, I wouldn't have liked that.
2 randoms. Oh, let me finish though. So now, when that came out, and everyone was saying, "Well, why wasn't Tom Wilson in it?" and Telltale Games said, "Well, he was busy," but he actually wasn't, because Tom Wilson then came out and said, "They never even fucking asked me," and he said, "I would have done it in a heartbeat," and so that's why they brought out the re-release. The remaster collection, and they replaced the sound-alike with Tom Wilson. And so now the version that we have out, the Back to the Future Telltale collection that we have out, has the whole cast, including Tom Wilson.
Yeah, it's things like that always get me, because it's like, why lie? Why tell the lie if it's easily going to be disproven? All it takes is for one person to step up and say, "Really? Because you guys never called me."
You just reminded me of something. Okay, this is great. So, there was a tweet on Twitter from what's her name? Tasha Yar, Denise Crosby.
Yeah.
So, oh God, what's his name? I can't remember. So who was the guy who took over for Gene Roddenberry?
Was Bergman?
Michael Piller? No, who was? I can't remember. It's one of those guys. One of those guys. Anyway, he was on Twitter, and he was saying he posted a photo of a communicator badge, and he said, "Oh, this is Denise Crosby's. She gave it to me when we had the party for her on her final episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where she had to leave because of prior commitments." And then Denise Crosby responded to that.
Yeah,
and
Rick Berman.
Rick Berman, thank you. That's who it was. And then she responded to that, and she said, "Rick, what are you talking about? You fired me. You literally came up into my dressing room between takes and said, we don't need you on the show anymore. Give me your communicator badge." And that was her response to him. It was saying, like, you just lied to everybody.
It's because he didn't want to seem like an asshole.
Well, he's an asshole anyway. No Trekkie doesn't think he's an ass. He's a complete asshole. He's always been that. But it was just so funny how he got, like, and that's kind of what Ollamh brought up was, why lie? And that's a perfect example of, somebody being caught in a lie, blatant lie, and getting called out on it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like I said, it's like, you can, it doesn't take a whole lot for one person who knows, or the person you're talking about, to just see this or hear this and be like, wait a second, what?
Yeah, it's a lot more dangerous to do that kind of stuff on the internet. Because, 90% of the time when you mention somebody's name, you may not be tagging them, but they're still able to look that up, right? And so, like, if you're saying something about somebody and it's inaccurate, they can find out easily. Yeah. And they can fix your lie right away.
Yeah.
But I found that really funny, and I found out that, I also found out why this blew me away when I found this out, because I had heard a different story compared to what was actually told by the actress. But when they brought on, for the second season, when they brought on Diana Muldaur as Catherine Pulaski, I think her name was.
Yeah.
It was the original thing was that Gates McFadden took time off because she was pregnant or something like that. But that was actually a lie. Gates McFadden said on the Blu-ray special features of TNG that they fired her. They literally said to her, and the reason they fired her was because they wanted her to wear specific clothing, and she said no. She wasn't going to do it. And so they said, well, you're done then.
You wanted to wear something sweaty, didn't they?
I think so. And what ended up happening, the reason she came back was because Patrick Stewart literally went to the producers or whoever it was and said to them, look, either she comes back or I walk, and you're not going to have a show.
Yeah.
And that's actually what happened. So the fact that they Star Trek producers lied and said, oh, no, she's just went away for a season because she was pregnant. Well,
yeah,
that's not the case.
Yeah, but they're at that point. I mean, depending on when they're spreading this around, when they're saying this, back at season 2 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, yeah, they could say whatever they wanted because they're not blasting it to everybody in the world saying, hey, this is what we're saying, this is how things went down, and having somebody able to come back and say no.
And that's exactly it. They said it at that time when the season 2 came out. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, there's nobody to fact check them. Nobody's going to fact check them.
No. And it wasn't until
they had no idea that it was going to be that there was going to be an internet and that they were going to catch up with them.
Yeah. And it wasn't until years later that Gates was like, nope, that's not how it went down.
I'm sure they probably wanted her to wear one of the slant skirted outfits.
I think so. Yeah. I think it was something like that. Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the things, especially in the first season, that they were really, they were kind of proud of and showing. It's like, look, see, these sconce, I guess as they call them, they're not just for women. Men wear them too, but they didn't have any major character wearing them.
See, for me, Pulaski, I didn't mind the actress. She had done Star Trek. She did the original series. She did a lot of stuff. So, I mean, she knew Star Trek and everything. The problem is, her character was just a female Bones. It was just a female Dr. McCoy. Hated transporters, hated artificial intelligence, which is the same as McCoy hating Vulcans and stuff like. It was the same damn thing. It was just the same damn thing as a female. And she was not unique. She was not original. She was just a carbon copy of Bones.
Yeah.
And so I was at least with Crusher, she had a unique story. Her husband died. She had to raise a son on her own.
And she had a connection with the captain, and it was, oh no, nope. You are my superior officer, but
yeah.
Yeah, don't try giving me orders, asshole.
They did some stuff on the side apparently, because I remember Dr. Crusher saying that she had a relationship with Captain Picard before he was captain of the Enterprise. And then she also had sex with ghosts on the one episode.
Yeah, I don't know as far as the relationship, because remember, Picard, if I remember right, wasn't Picard one of the people that was the one that basically he let Crusher's husband die? He had to make. You remember Wesley Crusher's psych test? Where there's this lab that's on fire and he has one person that's legs are crossed and one person cowering.
At Starfleet Academy.
Yeah. That was what happened, but Picard was in Wesley's role. Okay. If I remember right, that's how it went down.
Yeah.
Wesley's father was the one that was cowering. Picard was the one that had to choose which one lives, which one dies. That's why Crusher was like, you may be my superior officer, but don't fucking give me any orders. Because Picard was the one that she thinks, at least part of her thinks, he should have saved her husband. He didn't. He saved somebody else. And while the logical side of her brain may say, yeah, I understand that, the emotional side is like, you let my husband die. That was why she was always just right up in his face and just kind of like, no, we are so far past me being a good little subordinate.
Yeah, I guess, but at the same time, by the final episode, she was like, I mean, they were like best friends. I don't know.
Yeah, they grew together over the course of the show. But when the show first started, when they were first assembling the crew, that was the relationship, was you let my husband die.
Yeah.
I think the reason why I liked Star Trek The Next Generation, but things like Q, stupid stuff like that, that's what I didn't like about it.
Oh, come on. Q was the best. Q was hilarious.
Q is one of those things, one of those characters that is best used very sparingly.
Of course. And he wasn't really in every episode. He wasn't in
every episode, but I think he was in just about every season. I think they had they had a Q episode every season, and it's like, you really don't need that. You don't need, you don't have to have a Q episode this season. I mean, it's a fun idea, and I agree. They changed the character of Q as well. So I mean, originally it was supposed to be he is sitting in judgment of humanity. Now he's interested and just loves torturing Picard. It's like that is just an overly silly character.
Yeah, and now he's back in Star Trek Picard, which I don't understand. Like, why is he going to be in Star Trek Picard? He's just back to torment Picard again. It's like Picard can't even retire without Q after him. Q must be incredibly bored. It's the only thing I can think of. But Q to me just felt like Trelane. I don't know if you feel the same way, but Q just felt like another Trelane to me.
Character is
from the original series.
Okay.
He was Ollamh, you remember Trelane, right?
Trelane. Wait, was that the god-powered kid?
Yes. Okay. Who kept on playing games with Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
He put the Enterprise in a bottle in the one episode, and yeah.
Yeah.
See, like that kind of stuff to me is stupid. I don't think it fits. I just think it's ridiculous.
Now,
it doesn't fit within the genre. Because Star Trek to me was always science fiction. It's very, very heavy science. Whereas Star Wars is science fantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why stuff like that just never, it always kind of bugs.
I think it was just because maybe in the case of the next generation, maybe they felt they were losing viewers and they needed to up their game a tiny bit.
Well, no,
they wanted to.
I mean, they introduced Q episode 1.
That's true. Yeah, Encounter at Farpoint.
Picard met
Q
Q before he met Riker.
That's true. Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
But
yeah,
like
so
I said, it was a
man.
very different Q. It was a very different Q. It wasn't I'm gonna torment you. It's no, you have no idea what the hell you're doing out here. There are things that will absolutely destroy you. Follow your trail back and destroy your planet. You don't know what you're doing. Turn back.
He put them on trial for the mistakes of humanity. So they were to blame for all of humanity's mistakes.
Well, it was a trial of, do you deserve to go outside of your current quadrant? Do you deserve to explore all of this space? You know, and it was and that was, like I said, that was very, very different than, I'm just going to be a thorn in their side.
And then he came on all the other Star Treks too. He was on DS9, he was on Voyager, he tried to have sex with Janeway on Voyager. Like, it just became weird.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those things where it's like, as this all-powerful being, or part of a continuum of all-powerful beings that basically, it felt like with the original character, the original idea was he was supposed to be the guardian of things, to make sure that, to make sure that no one race completely fucks up the universe. And it's like, no, your bumbling could upset the balance of everything. It could really fuck up the entire universe. Prove to me that you are okay, that you are wise enough to solve a problem without just obliterating everything or pissing everybody off. That type of a character, that type of a Q, I would have loved to have seen.
Yeah.
But
and unfortunately, that only lasted for 2 episodes where he was like that. Because I know that the first episode was the trial, but then there was another episode where he introduced Picard to the Borg before Picard would ever meet the Borg. Yeah. He's like, well, you're not even ready for this. And Picard's like, we are ready for everything.
Yeah. And it was just like, oh, you think you're ready for everything? Here's what you're facing if you keep going this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, then it was like, and it, like, again, it was one of those kinds of, you don't know what you have no idea what is out there. Not I'm going to do this just to be mischievous. No, it's like, I'm doing this to prove a point. You really got to up your game.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It was just those 2 episodes. And then after that, he just became stupid. It's like, oh, let's play a game of Robin Hood in that one episode. And it just became really weird. It became very odd. He just became like he became like Trelane. Yeah. That's what it is. He became exactly like Trelane, playing games.
But at least Trelane was very reserved as far as...
Yeah.
Because I don't think that character had a couple episodes.
Yeah, I did about 3 episodes, and then he was also in the Star Trek Judgment Rights PC game.
Yeah.
Where he sent the crew back to the Gestapo period, World War II, and tried to teach them about. It was weird. He was like trying to teach them about war. I don't know. It was a very strange episode of the game.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever really got to that point of the game, but yeah, it's like I said. I agree. I have to agree with Sin. I mean, even within the first season, I think it was because I think the second encounter for Q was he was trying to tempt Riker. He was trying to get to understand Riker instead of Picard.
Yeah.
So the funny thing I will say about Star Trek is, of all the science fiction period, they have my absolute favorite ship. The coolest ship in all of science fiction to me is from Star Trek.
Which one?
Yeah, which
Klingon
ship?
Bird of Prey.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what I
I
figured.
love the Bird of Prey. I love the Bird of Prey because it looks aggressive. It doesn't look like a capital ship, which I know it's not. It's only got a crew of like 12. But I just love how it looks. It looks like a predatory bird.
Yeah, the Klingon Bird of Prey, very specifically.
Yes, yeah,
'cause
the
the
Romulan
Romulans do have one too, but it's just like,
You would love Star Trek Klingon, where you serve on board a Klingon bird of prey. It's actually quite fun. You serve under the command of Gowron. But yeah, nah, I agree. I do think that the ships are in my opinion better designed than the ships in Star Wars.
Well,
They just feel like they're I don't know, like the TIE fighters are literally just bow ties.
so I won't say that because the Enterprise to me, whether it's the original TNG, is stupid. I don't like the Enterprise. I'm saying the sole reason why.
Sorry, sorry. Repeat that again. You're saying the old Enterprise, like
no,
the
any
six-
of
Well,
them.
no, I'm saying either of them, either of the Enterprises, any version of the Enterprise to me is stupid. I just don't care for the design of the ship.
Fair enough.
Whereas, I mean, and that's just my personal preference. That's just what as
Yeah.
far as science fiction goes, I don't care for it.
Mhm.
I don't particularly care for Star Destroyers either. I think they're kind of stupid looking too, but I like the as far as like the scrub fighters and stuff. That's one of the things you didn't see a whole lot of in at least from my experience, you didn't see a whole lot of those in Star Trek.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. And there's and actually kind of comes to the reason why, the reason for the difference. I mean, in all of this, in most of the Star Trek stuff, or in most of the Star Wars stuff, you're following individuals who aren't part of the government.
Yeah.
Just about all of Star Trek up until Star Trek Picard, you were
It's
all
military.
Yes, you are on a military ship. Whether this is we have family or not, this is a military ship. It's gonna look clean. It's gonna look shiny. It's gonna look, well designed and well put together. Because
That's also why Gene Roddenberry changed the costumes in TNG, because initially the costumes had a zipper in the front, and then Gene Roddenberry was like, nope, you know what? I'm changing the costume because it doesn't look military enough. So he literally changed the costume so that the zipper's in the back.
That's not the only reason he changed them.
No, that's one of the reasons.
The biggest reason was the cast. Those things were actually like fur. They were not like spandex or anything like. No, they were like they were fur. They stank. Look at some of the interviews that the cast did. They're like, no, those first season uniforms, those just reeked after a few
Those
hours.
are the ones
of
that
the
were
place.
kind of like the one piece.
Yes.
So another reason why they hated those is because when they'd go to lunch, so like when they started the day and they hadn't eaten breakfast, everyone's jumper looked great. They went to lunch and just eating like a bagel, they'd get a little bit of a pudge.
Yeah. Well, the things
That
were
was one of the things.
They were skin
Exactly.
tight. They were way too tight and I don't know why Gene Roddenberry had this fixation with the futuristic onesie. But you look at the Star Trek the motion picture. They're in fucking onesies.
Yeah, no, it went on for a while. Like, I mean, I'm pretty sure it went up until Enterprise.
They changed it for the movies by The Wrath of Khan. That was when they had the white collar, thick turtleneck undershirt, the red jackets, and black pants. It was it was separated for The Wrath of Khan. And then,
Yeah.
and then he starts up.
Oh, I see what you're talking. You're talking about the original Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. It looked like
And
they
then-
were wearing pajamas.
Yeah, they were space onesies. And then so then it's like, okay, well, hey, Star Trek: The Next Generation. What kind of costume do you want? A onesie. What the fuck was his obsession with a onesie? Seriously.
I think it was because he was trying, like, it's a uniform, so it's utilitarian, would be my guess, being ignorant in regards to the actual topic. That would be my guess, because to me, it makes me think of a fancy version of a mechanic's coveralls or a flight suit.
But
'Cause
that's
if you
the
look
thing. Those aren't uniforms. Those aren't everyday uniforms. You're not. You don't get people walking all over. Everybody walking on an Air Force base, dressed in a jumpsuit. These were everyday uniforms.
It's true. Kind of reminds me of Wing Commander in a sense. They always had those jumpsuits, but that made more sense.
Yeah, it was. They were more like coveralls. They weren't the uniforms that are just like tight and skinny.
No.
It's like they had to be. Most of them were pilots that were. You get called up if you get called up, you need to be in your cockpit within like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, I mean, it would be like saying, okay, I'm a Navy SEAL, so I'm going to wear a scuba suit all the time.
Well, Scuba Steve does.
Well, Scuba Steve could kiss my ass.
Who's Scuba Steve?
Ever seen the Adam Sandler movie?
No.
I can't remember what it is. He ends up
Was it Big Daddy?
It's Big Daddy.
Yes.
Oh.
So he finds out that he's the father of this child, and something I don't remember the movie exactly, other than the character Scuba Steve.
Yeah.
But this kid is like a GI Joe, but he was called Scuba Steve.
Okay. Another show that had the onesie as well was Sequest DSV.
True.
Yeah, all of the characters wore onesies as well.
Yeah, I never really understood that, because it's like, look, there are plenty of uniforms that have a jacket and pants and a shirt, jacket, pants, boots, shirt. Sometimes you put something on over that for a special mission.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if it's budgetary constraints. Like, oh, we've spent, $50,000 on just this set alone, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, obviously. So we're gonna kind of have to. Guess what, everyone? You're all gonna get coveralls to wear.
You know what I think it is? You know what I actually think it is? I think he was so stuck in the past, like the 1950s sci-fi stuff, where everybody was the silver one piece.
I think you're right, and the reason why I think you're right is because when the Next Generation first started, and there was the casting for Picard, Gene Roddenberry and Picard, Patrick Stewart brought this up multiple times. Gene Roddenberry was not for him getting the role, because he wanted a young, strapping guy with full head of hair.
He wanted Flash Gordon.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
And then what happened was the producers or something ended up hiring him, and Patrick Stewart was saying that when he went to the set for the first time and Gene was there, Gene kind of just put his head in his hands and sighed heavily, and he's like, "Shit, well, here's my captain." The bald guy.
Yeah.
So he was not thrilled about that.
Well, that's because in the old school sci-fi stuff that he grew up with, the bald guy was usually the evil alien.
Or he was the scientist guy who was, not the hero.
No, it was usually the bald guy was usually the villain. He was Ming the Merciless. He was an alien that, in order to make him look less human, you shave off all the hair of his head, not just the scalp, the eyebrows, the whole 9 yards. You make him. That was the easiest way to make somebody look like an alien. Was to remove the hair, because you couldn't identify him, because it's kind of like, well, it could be a human, but especially with black and white, it's like, well, what color is his skin? What's Why doesn't he have where are his eyebrows? What the hell is it? It feels wrong.
Yeah, it's very true. Something that Patrick Stewart said was that, you know, he wishes that Gene Roddenberry was alive long enough to see the success that TNG was, because then he would have realized that, oh, I made a dreadful mistake by saying that Patrick Stewart shouldn't have been the captain. Because everybody really accepted him because he was different than Kirk. Was always guns blazing, kind of just like the hothead, whereas Patrick Stewart was more Shakespearean. He was more.
He matured.
Yeah,
he was more mature. Yeah.
Well, and also Kirk had a different prime directive. His prime directive was to stick his penis in any alien chick he could possibly do.
Could you imagine if that was the main intro? Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. To fuck every alien in the known universe.
I am sure there are some parody tracks out there that have done that from back in the 80s, if not earlier.
So, all right. So speaking of that, so you've both seen Aliens, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the scene where the Marines are first woken up from their hypersleep or whatever, or cryo sleep, whatever you want to call it, they're all sitting around at the mess table. They're all sitting around eating.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking about being with some particular race. And it's funny because the race apparently was so attractive that this bunch of space jarheads didn't care if their partner was male or female. They were all so pretty. But it was funny because considering when Aliens came out, it was so different as far as, you know, the attitudes that particular group of Marines had. I can't remember what the aliens were called.
Xenomorphs.
No. I'm not talking about the xenomorphs. I'm talking
okay.
about what's happening is they're all sitting around this mess table eating after they've woken up. Okay, and so what they're all talking about the last leave that the whole unit went on, like something,
okay.
you know, but they're talking about it, and it's funny because they don't. Again, whatever race this was, it didn't matter whether it was male or female. The guys didn't care, and the only actual chick besides Wierzbowski was the Hispanic chick whose name escapes me right now.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about, but yeah, I can't.
No, it wasn't Ramirez. Because the one guy says, "Have you ever been mistaken for a female and it was a woman?"
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. All right, give me just. I need to take a real quick break.
Okay.
You guys go ahead and keep talking.
All right. Sin, have you ever played the Alien Isolation game?
No.
I think you would really like it. So it's the only good Alien game that ever came out. It has the entire cast from all of the original Alien movies. Like everyone's in it, Sigourney Weaver, everybody. And the creators of the game actually visited the original sets from the original movies and took photos and then used those to render the entire game as accurately as possible.
So Aliens will always hold, and not just the franchise, but actually the particular movie Aliens will always hold a special place in my heart, simply because it was always like with horror movies, you know, like for example, the original Alien had this one monster, and yes, Ripley does defeat him.
Yeah.
You know, he does defeat the one alien.
Yeah.
But it was different in far as the genre goes, because it was always dumbass teenagers get tore apart by some crazy in a mask or some shit like that. This was a monster that was killing trained soldiers. So that was one of the things I thought was cool about it.
Yeah.
The fact
for sure.
And the other thing was that it was more, well, it was, you know, it was an action horror movie, which was a new well, we're really more of a new genre, and I don't even necessarily know that it's even still classified as that. But to me, it's an action horror movie. The other funny thing is, so there used to be a tabletop RPG that was set in that universe, and I don't know if it was a licensed product or homebrew or what. That part really isn't important.
Yeah.
But because there was a line of miniatures of the Marines,
Okay.
like the little lead minis.
Yeah, yeah.
So there was a line of them, and there was, again, and it might have been just a war game too. It's not an actual RPG.
Okay.
So they had rules for all the guns, smart guns, all the weapons, the shotgun, everything, the APCs, everything that was in the movie, weapons-wise and material-wise, the scenario of them going down into the reactor. So the first thing is in the movie Aliens, when they go down to the reactor, they take all the ammunition away from any of the armor-piercing rounds because they're in a nuclear reactor, and they don't want to blow everything up. So the difference is that in the scenario or the module that came with it, the set, it gives you the option to run it without that handicap.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have, and it was like at like Gen Con or something like that, one of the big gaming conventions where they had, they had people run it, had people play it, and they had like 10 different groups. 9 of the 10 groups were given, they were all given the same set of instructions based on the movie.
Okay.
So 9 of the 10 groups, when they weren't disarmed, went down, kicked the Queen's ass, and didn't blow up the reactor. Even with, spray and pray and shit like that, it didn't have the catastrophic failure that crippled them in the movie. Didn't have that, they weren't forced to, be left to a shotgun and flamers to deal with the aliens.
Yeah.
So the smart gunners had their ammo. All the pulse rifles had their ammo. Everything was run as standard scenario. And they went through just fine.
Yeah. So with Alien Isolation, so let me just say that there have been a lot of really bad Alien games. And a lot of them stem from Sega and their lack of understanding of the franchise whatsoever. The only good one was, as I said, Alien Isolation, and it was really well done because it kind of tied in all of the stories. And so it took place after Alien, I believe Alien 3. And you played Ripley's daughter.
I thought it was after. Yeah, I thought it was earlier than that.
Well, when did Ripley give birth? Wasn't it in Alien 3?
Was it Alien 3 or was it Alien 2?
No, it wasn't 2. In 2, they had Newt. Newt wasn't Ripley's daughter. She was just a survivor from the colony. That was the only child.
That's what I figured. It is Alien 3. Okay. So anyway, what I was saying. So you play as Ripley's daughter, and you're looking for Ripley's ship. So that's the main story of Alien Isolation, and you end up finding the ship, and there's nobody on it but the alien. But the interesting part about it is that they also have side DLC, which takes place before the events of the movies, and so you actually get to play as Sigourney Weaver, and her. It's actually her.
Okay. So this is supposed to be set 15 years after the first movie.
Oh, okay.
So this was a daughter she had before the Nostromo incident. Because I remembered the younger Ripley saying, "Hey, she was wanting to go and search for her mother." So she was. It's like, well, after. I mean, there wasn't any question what happened to her after the third movie. The only one that was really up in the air, I mean, it was up in the air during the first and the second one, but even by the second one, it's like she had been back to the colonies. She had reconnected with the government and stuff like that. So it was like, it wasn't this big question of, okay, the ship just disappeared. We have no idea what happened. Because even after the second one, it was like, well, plenty of people knew that they were taking her back to deal with these alien life forms, supposedly, but
She was supposed to go in too as the expert in regards to the xenomorphs.
yeah,
Because they'd never encountered anything like that.
yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
so even after the second one, it's like, well, no, she would have known something about what was going on.
Thing that I loved about Alien Isolation was how realistic it looked. First of all, I mean, it looked photorealistic. The sets looked just like the sets from the movie. Everything was just so well done. The alien mocap was insane. But the best part was, and the creators of the game said this, is that the alien is completely unpredictable because how they programmed the alien was the alien studies you from afar, studies every single one of your movements, and then adapts to counteract your movements. So basically, if you go and hide in a locker, that's only going to work for so long before the alien realizes you're in the goddamn locker and just comes up and eats you. So it was really a game of run or die. So it was a lot of fun. It really is.
It wasn't just run or die. It was, you have to change up your tactics.
Yeah, that too. I mean,
there were a lot of ways to get around being captured or something like that. But it's like, if you stuck to one game plan, you weren't going to make it to the finish line.
Yeah. Did you play it then?
I didn't play it, but I watched quite a few people play it, and
yeah, it's really good. It's literally the best Alien game I've ever played.
Interesting point that that I thought of when I was going to get in some water about Star Trek Next Generation.
Sure.
Is the Borg. The Borg themselves are just a fascinating twist. Because it wasn't originally supposed to be the Borg. It was supposed to be those little like
Dribbles.
No, the little bugs. The little bugs that a person had to swallow, and that had the little breathing tail out the back of the neck.
The things from Star Trek 2?
No, these were in Star Trek: The Next Generation. It was a one shot.
I know what you're talking about. It was like the bug was in the Admiral in the one episode.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
And that was originally what was supposed to be the big bad of the series.
Okay.
Because right at the end, at the end of that one episode where they really showed up, it was they sent out a signal out to somewhere. Nobody knew where it was going. They would just send it out, and it was like that was supposed to be that those creatures were supposed to be what the big bad was, until a lot of people were like, we didn't really like that. That kind of made us feel creepy. They're like, okay. Bring in number 2, bring in the Borg. The Borg weren't supposed to be there. They weren't supposed to be the big bad.
Well, it worked out in their favor though, because like the Borg are badass, man, and like I mean, they became so popular. I mean, to the point where they made an entire movie dedicated to the Borg, right? I mean, First Contact.
I always thought they were OP, and I didn't like them.
Yeah, I kind of think that they were OP until, basically until further along, where it was like, okay, well, we kind of know what they're going, we kind of know what they're, we can formulate tactics to hold our own.
What? Okay, so what? I've never seen it done so well in my life, as aside from this game. So, Star Trek Borg, the game that I keep on bringing up, the FMV game with Q. So there's one part in that game where your character gets assimilated, and the game is all first person, so you see through the eyes of a Borg, and they did a fucking fantastic job of making you hear all of the collective voices at once while you're assimilated, and it's in 3D audio, so it's freaking amazing. Just you literally feel like you're a Borg, and you've got like this implant over your eye, and it allows you to like it's hard to explain, but it's just really cool. It's really cool.
And hello there, Caden. Apparently our talk of the Borg awakened the Caden.
There we go. He's waiting to be assimilated. He should jump on mic. Why don't you jump on mic, dude?
But yeah, it's one of those weird things. I mean, even that bug episode, this Paramount wasn't sure about it. They're like, "Oh, you really want to do this?" It's like, okay. It's like, yeah, nobody liked it. We're get a different one.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also find it interesting how they kind of made the Borg idea, kind of cyclical, because the Borg were actually already on their way towards the Federation, even when Q sent they were supposed to be, at least by the end of everything, they were supposed to have already been on their way.
Yeah. Do you find that okay, two things. Have you noticed that the Kalon in the second season of the Orville, where they're going to attack I forget what their version of the Federation is.
Yeah, but
the Alliance. I don't remember.
Hang on, I'm kind of talking about the Borg and how they made it cyclical. You know why they were headed, don't you? You know why they were already headed towards the Federation when Picard first encountered him, don't you?
No, I don't think it was ever brought up.
Yes, it was. After first contact, there was a downed Borg in the Arctic that was found during Star Trek Enterprise.
I've never seen Star Trek Enterprise.
I think it was the fourth season. Yeah, Star Trek Enterprise. The Borg was this Borg drone found in the Arctic was actually was revived, stole a shuttle, was captured by Archer in the NX-01, and the Borg basically had tried to assimilate them in the ship, but wound up escaping with just enough information to say, hey, these Earth people, they're looking pretty good, and kind of, I don't think he had necessarily the future knowledge at that point, because he had been disconnected from the collective, but it was kind of like, hey, so these Federation people, we should go after them. And it was basically kind of the same idea. It was a signal sent out, I think I don't think the Borg escaped. I think it was a signal sent out, but it was like, oh, it's going to take like 3 or 4 centuries for them to actually reach us.
So that's crazy. So then when they, that's really interesting. So when they came up with the idea of Picard meeting the Borg and everything, it seems like they had already thought ahead. I
don't know how far ahead they had actually thought on that. I don't know if they had like connected it around, but once they had first contact and they're like, oh, we'll take the Borg back here. It's like, wait, now we've got a show coming up, or later on they're like, hey, we've got a show that's supposed to happen before Kirk, so
let's tie the knot.
Why not make it so that, they get hey, this is the signal that they were waiting for. Yeah, it'll take a couple centuries, 2 or 3 centuries for them to actually hear it and do anything about it. Not a big deal. And
I do know that a lot of people didn't like how Enterprise ended. I see. I've never watched Enterprise, but I do know a lot of people hated how it ended. How it was all just a holodeck simulation that Riker and Counselor Troy were looking at.
No, it was a reenactment of it was supposed to be what the final episode was just that one episode was the final the final hurrah, and it was Riker playing a part in that whole recorded drama, so that he was getting a different perspective of how things used to be. It's not. It was that one little episode, and it was Riker reliving the last day of the original crew from the original Enterprise, the NX-01.
That's the show that Scott Bakula was on.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always liked him.
Scott, he's brilliant. Before Bob Saget died, he had a podcast that I would listen to every couple of days. He would come on YouTube and do a podcast, and he would always interview different celebrities. And he did an interview with Scott Bakula, and Scott was saying how hard it was to be on Quantum Leap, because every episode you're like a new character, and you had. The wardrobe was insane, and then on top of all of it, he had to work alongside Dean Stockwell, and Dean Stockwell would drive him insane half the time between takes.
Oh, I loved Quantum Leap. I love that show so much.
I adore it. I have it on DVD, the whole collection, and I watch it all the time.
Because you could see his talent as an actor.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was dropped into all these crazy bullshit, Okay, so now you're here to set the life right of this girl with Down syndrome who becomes a pirate.
He said it was he said it was really hard to act in it, because he said that you had to convey, you had to make the viewer believe that you were not the character, that you were the person that you had jumped into. So he had to make people believe he was like a pregnant woman when he was a man in a dress. You know what I mean? And so he said it was not easy, but he nailed it. Like, for how many seasons? And now they're talking about bringing it back with him. He said in the interview that he what's his name? Belisario. I can't remember his first name. The creator of Quantum Leap. But anyway, they're thinking of bringing back the series. Obviously not with Dean Stockwell, because unfortunately he passed away recently.
Yeah.
But they are bringing it back with Scott Bakula, and so hopefully that'll happen.
Well,
we don't know.
They're wanting to. They are wanting to.
Yeah, they're at the wanting to stage right now.
Yeah, that's one of those big
past.
things where if it's not with the right studio, they could be like, nope, sorry, Scott, nope, we don't want Scott Bakula.
Yeah,
and that could.
You know what I'd like to see them do?
Go ahead.
As far as bringing it back,
I
would love to see them bring it back. Only a new person who's leaping, and him taking Dean Stockwell's.
Yeah,
that wouldn't work.
I think that'd be good.
It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work story-wise. Because
why?
Because Sam Beckett never returned home.
Oh, see, I didn't know that.
The final episode, Sam Beckett leapt. He leapt to the very day of his birth, because when they were looking, they were trying to find him. They're like, we're looking through his entire life, and we're not seeing him. It's like, wait, did you look at the day he was literally born? But yeah, he was leapt into this bar that was disconnected from everything else, and he was kind of given a choice. And he's like, you know what? Let me leap again. And he just disappeared. Even his project nobody could find him. Nobody found him.
Okay.
So yeah, they couldn't bring him back that way.
Was that supposed to be the final episode, or was it just canceled?
No, that was supposed to be. I think it might have been canceled, but they had always kind of planned that would be how it ended. They didn't want him to return home, because he's kind of taken on this life of being this invincible hidden hero in the background.
But I do have to agree with you, Sin, that no, it really showed his talent as an actor, because not only was he acting, there were some episodes where he was singing, there were some episodes where he was boxing. You know what I mean? He kind of did everything. He was flying a plane. He was doing, you know what? He did everything. He really did. And how often can an actor say that in a movie that, or a TV series that, one episode I did this, another episode I did this, another episode, like he had so much under his belt for that series.
Okay.
And it was really impressive.
Okay, so I want to give Caden a chance to
Sure,
if
of
he
course.
has any questions as far as the Ask Me Anything or anything in particular that he wants to talk about.
All right, well, you guys do that. I'm going to just jump off for a quick second and grab a tea.
All right.
Caden is still just waking up. No, I was listening to that conversation, realizing that we're talking about Donald Belisario, which means that if he's writing in Scott Bakula's character to Quantum Leap again, he'll just write that the last leap he ended up in NCIS Agent Gibbs,
Oh, wait, no. Well, wait. Scott Bakula wasn't Gibbs, was he? Because Gibbs isn't Gibbs Harmon? But Scott Bakula, I know Scott Bakula was on was in
he's in New Orleans as
New Orleans.
Pride. But Belisario doesn't write New Orleans. He only writes the main series.
Yeah,
so the joke
but-
doesn't work unless
yeah.
it's the main series.
See, that's the problem though. It is still in the same connected universe. So they'd be like, oh, so wait, what? They'd be like, no, nope, big fat no. But yeah, I mean, I think they could. I think it could be interesting if somebody. Now, I don't know how often they would have. Sam Beckett in, but they could always do it like, hey, there's another layer to the idea of the observer.
Yeah, I mean, they could just write it in as he's in the background somewhere. Still leaping, just watching.
Yeah, still leaping, occasionally crossing paths with the new person doing it all, and just kind of, he's part of the program. He's part of that program on a more intimate level. Basically, he can show up whenever he wants to, or whenever he is really needed, he shows up as, kind of as a hologram, but, not part of the, not one man stuck way in the future. He's just, whenever he is needed, he just is, he is pulled back to the new person.
And that way they could cast a different person to be the Libra. That way they could give another actor chance to play that particular type of character. So you could have an Asian woman or a black dude or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think they would pull him in as the main character, and this just being like a continuation of Sam Beckett's story. I don't think he'd go for it, honestly, at this point. I think he'd be like, oh, really?
There's enough dollar signs, maybe.
Well, that's the thing. You know, sometimes you can buy somebody, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's just completely unreasonable. But it's not. There's the thing of, is he really going to be doing all of those? Is he really going to be doing all the stunts and stuff like that? Is he really going to want to have to portray drastically different people each episode and stuff like that? I mean, if it was that grueling back then, how is that gonna be?
Because he's old as hell now.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, you're not really. I don't see him being like, oh yeah, I wanna have to waddle like a pregnant woman again at my age with my back and hips. Absolutely, sounds great.
That's why I thought it would be great if but I didn't know how the series ended, where he could take over Al's part.
Yeah. See, I mean, that's one of those questions of, do they need somebody necessarily in the future, or could Sam Beckett's character play the Al part, but just like I said, he is just part of that project. He is part of everything, so he just he's just there.
One of the things they also could do in regards to that is, since this is the future, and they had Ziggy, that was the little AI that Al carried, correct?
Yeah.
So make him an AI hologram. That interacts with the new person. So that way they don't have to. So he could still be Dr. Beckett or whatever, and he would still have. So he could even be around more in the episode, but he could do less because he's not really there. It's like Al couldn't really do anything other than like say, oh, somebody's coming down this hallway, because he could look down that hallway because he could peek his head through the door, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that would. I mean, that would be
a body to Ziggy.
Yeah, but that would be bringing the actor back in, but discarding the character.
Well, that's why I said it could be an AI that looks like him, and copied his memory or whatever. I don't know. Like I said, I'm grasping at straws just because.
Yeah, that's one of those. Like I said, that's one of those points where they would have had to have done that before he went into the chamber, and I'm not. That's kind of really. I don't think they would go with something like that. But like I said, it's not like they don't have possibilities as far as bringing him in. Maybe not in every episode, maybe every few episodes or something like that. But yeah, I mean, there are ways of bringing him in. Nobody said he died. They just said he left again, but without the actual interface in the future, and nobody can track him. So the idea is that he's out there, somebody else took control, and he's still leaping. Did everybody just go quiet?
Well, I stopped talking because I've been blathering constantly, so I wanted to give Caden a chance to talk in case Caden had any input.
I don't know.
Caden is trying to remember what Sliders was like, honestly.
Sliders was an interesting an interesting show.
I was with the kid from Stand By Me as an adult, Jerry something.
Jerry O'Connell, yeah, he played the lead.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I never watched that, so I don't know anything about it, so can't comment. Sorry.
I always found it I always find it interesting whenever there's like the idea of a multiverse and stuff like that. It's like, okay, so it's always amazing to me how they can go from one reality to another and something just massively different has changed, and it's like, really? Because, I mean, wouldn't it be closer to the truth where, as far as 99% of the world is concerned, everything's the exact same except for somebody decided to have coffee instead of tea this morning? That's a choice.
Do you remember there was an old television show, it wasn't on for very long, called Otherworld?
Oh, kind of?
It was kind of a parallel universe to our own. It had like weird quirks. Like, so for example, in one of the episodes, it dealt with this family, and they were trying to get it, so somehow they crossed over to the other world. I don't remember, through a science experiment, aliens, what? I don't remember. So, but they're in this parallel universe to our own, where things are kind of the opposite, and that's why it was called Otherworld. For example, they're traveling across the country, but instead of states, there were provinces, whatever,
Yeah. Okay.
But So they're traveling across. They stop somewhere and they're on the run from this evil bad guy who wants to get them and basically dissect them to see what people from the other universe are like, or something bizarre. He was a bad guy, cartoonish villain kind of guy. So one of the episodes was this family. They're having this barbecue, okay, or there's some kind of cookout, something like that, and the son takes off his shirt because that's normal to us. So it would have been the same thing as if the teenage daughter, your buddy's daughter, teenage daughter, took off her shirt to us.
Yeah.
They were freaking out. They had like this weird thing. So like they had guns, but they were like laser guns. Instead of with the, the slide part on the, the top part, going to the top of your palm, you held it upside down and fired it with your thumb, like a joystick.
Okay.
But the beam and stuff, where the barrel and such was below your hand,
Yeah.
as opposed to being above. And they had weird cars and stuff. I can't remember. I know it didn't last very long, but it was you talked about multiverse. That's what it automatically made me think.
Well,
of
with
Otherworld.
sliders, with sliders, that was the idea. Was this kid had created this device that allowed him to basically to slide from one universe to a parallel universe, or to a different member of the multiverse. And basically it was everything was but it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like everything was different. They were trying to get back to their specific home, their specific universe, or I think towards the end they might have just said, hey, you know what, as long as it's close enough to what we remember, fuck it, we'll take it.
Okay, so apparently, because I just Googled it, so they got to Otherworld by going through a pyramid, Great Pyramid of Giza, the stars aligned just right, and it transported them to the Otherworld.
Okay.
Sounds like discount Stargate.
This was way before Stargate, though. This was 85. It's when the show was out, and it only lasted one season because it was garbage. I mean, it was just stupid.
Yeah, some of the let's face it, Stargate has a lot owes a lot to the fact that for the longest time, and actually still kind of to this day, most white cultures can't imagine a non-white culture doing anything grand on a grand scale without the intervention of aliens. I mean, the amount of sci-fi stuff that has come about because, well, the pyramids had to be aliens, the Sphinx had to be aliens. It's kind of embarrassing to a point, because it's like, really that everything had to be aliens, and just wow, the I mean, stuff like
Stonehenge.
Huh?
That is actually white culture, though. Stonehenge.
Yes, but that's my point, though, Sin. I'm not saying white people can't do it. I'm saying modern day white people look at ancient non-white cultures and say, there's no way they could have made the pyramid without alien intervention.
Oh, that's just silly.
Yeah.
And don't forget, not just aliens, but specifically aliens that see this non-white race and say, yes, these are truly inferior and should be controlled like dogs.
Yeah. These are truly inferior people, so they need help, but the white people were doing so awesome that they didn't need help, and it's like, that's just, yeah, huh?
That's weird, because in a lot of ways the ancient Egyptians were more advanced than the Europeans at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
They did a lot of fucked up, goofy shit too. Don't get me wrong, but everybody did fucked up, goofy shit then.
Oh, it's one of the stories that I've heard that always got me was the idea behind I think it was the Aztecs and the Mayans, in South America. It was like one of them saw the other cutting somebody open before, and cutting their chest open and stuff like that. And it was, then they had good fortunes of reigns or in wars or something like that. So they're like, oh, we need to start sacrificing people. The problem is what they were seeing was very, very, very early open heart surgery. This was not for an actual sacrifice. This was actually because they needed to perform a very basic version of surgery. And it's like, and the person may actually have gotten up and walked around again after that, but no, one side saw it as, oh, they're sacrificing people and they have all this good luck. We need to start sacrificing people. And it just kind of bounced back and forth. And it's like, wow, wait, what? Oh, okay. Oh, so instead of trying to heal, instead of trying to make them better, we should bring a healthy person. Instead of trying to make a sick person healthy, we should take a health person and kill them.
Kill them.
It's like...
That's humanity in any color, shape, or stripe.
Yeah.
As far as what I'm concerned is, killing people. That's always the way to make things better. Let's kill the other fucker. Let's kill our fuckers. Let's kill a fucker.
Yeah. Let's. We've gone 6 months without killing anything, boys. I'm starting to get jittery.
That's humanity in general.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones said it best in Men in Black. He said, a person is an intelligent, thinking, caring individual. People are cattle. I'm paraphrasing, but yeah.
Yeah, they're panicky. They're panicky. Yeah, I know the quotes you're talking about, but yeah, it was like, a person can be rational, logical, caring. People are panicky. Yeah, messes, basically. Okay, I think it is about time to wrap this up, because we've been going for about 3 hours and 15 minutes, and that's about where I want to try and keep the max.
That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, because otherwise we will be here for hours and hours and hours and then be dead to the world for the next day.
Yeah.
I'll be dead anyhow because I have insomnia and I don't sleep anymore.
Ooh, that's not good.
I just slept for 4 hours, so I don't know if I'm going back to sleep or awake for the rest of the day.
I hate that period. I've gotten to that a few years ago where basically, yeah, I used to, especially during the winter, I would sleep 4 hours every 16 hours, and that was not that was not a good schedule. So, all right, I think next time I would like to talk. I would like to have the topic be technology in movies and games that works and was explained well. So, as an example, the Predator using heat vision, because if their armor bent the light around them, no light was hitting their eyes, so they couldn't have seen in normal vision. So they moved to heat vision. It's a logical thing that both looks good and has actual reason behind it.
Well, it's also very practical because even uncloaked, infrared is so much better.
Yeah. But that's the general topic.
I think they just stole that idea from the elves. Provision.
Yeah.
I mean, the fantasy races did that shit before the Predators did. And the Predator is a fantasy race, obviously, also.
Yeah.
Yes, but unlike Drizzt, they aren't half blind in the daylight.
Yeah. And it's just what they use the most. So it's like, yeah, they can cycle through. In the second one, they actually do cycle through various different ones when the humans are like, oh, nope, heat vision, we got to do this.
Yeah, then surprise, we've got X-ray.
It's like, yeah, So it's very much they go to heat vision to get away from something. Like I said, it's the idea of, very obviously it was supposed to be the idea where the light they bent the light around them, so it's like you have no light, you can't see. But anyway, yeah, that's
I'm gonna write this in the Discord so we have a note for it.
okay. That's a very good idea. I was actually thinking about doing that myself. So yeah, as always, guys, thank you very much for being here. Always appreciate it.
Poor Gamers is going to come back and nobody's going to be here.
I think he'll put 2 and 2 together.
I don't know.
Run
He's
off without him.
Canadian. He's Canadian. He could be easily confused or startled or frightened.
True. All right. So, give me just a moment here. There we go. As always, thank you guys very much for being here. Dana, Rasklin, Pierre, all the people that are lurking in the backgrounds, people that popped in while we were having certain conversations, popped out, etc., etc. If you liked the video, don't forget to prod the like button. If you're new here, watching either now or after the fact, don't forget to, if you like what we do, don't forget to prod the subscribe button down below. That lets YouTube know that you like what we're doing and lets us know that you like what we're doing. If you want to keep up to date, you can ring the bell down below as well as subscribing, or you can actually check out the social media links in the description down below, the Facebook, the Twitter, and the Discord channel where we chat and stuff like that outside of when we're doing live streams or videos or anything like that. All of this so that you can stay tuned for more from Ollamh Productions. Cheerio!